Coming to you from Blue Crew Studio in Temecula, California, it's the Whiskey Throttle Show, taking you inside the lives and careers of the legends and leaders of action sports. Today's guest is brought to you by Yamaha. Yamaha is the industry leader in 2- and 4-wheel fun and performance. Motocross, off-road, adventure, side-by-side, Yamaha sets the standard. Yamaha revs your heart. The Whiskey Throttle Show is presented by Motorsport.com. It doesn't matter if you like to pull a throttle cable on a dirt bike, street bike, side-by-side. Motorsport.com is putting riders first with parts, gear, and accessories, including some of our partners like Troy Lee Designs, Dunlop, Pro Circuit, and more. They offer first returns free on apparel so you can buy with confidence. And Motorsport.com offers fast, free shipping on all orders over $79. Make your next ride your best ride. Visit Motorsport.com. Troy Lee made a name for himself as the most elite helmet painter in all forms of motorsport racing. His ability to make a stationary object look fast is something rare. That creativity gave way to motocross and mountain bike gear, helmets, and an arsenal of protective equipment aimed at keeping racers on the track and out of a doctor's office. The 2025 TLD line is out, and it's as fast as ever. Troy Lee Designs, blending speed and style. Rockform, creators of the world's strongest magnetic phone case. They have mounts for your car, motorcycle, and bicycle, as well as universal mounts to adhere your phone to any surface. They also have screen protectors, power banks, stands, chargers, and more. And don't forget the G-Rock wireless golf speaker. Magnets adhere this powerful speaker to your cart, or any metallic surface for that matter, so you have tunes while you golf, work, or hang out. Rockform, always innovating the phone case market. Rockwell designs all their sunglasses in their U.S. headquarters in Utah. Then they are manufactured in Italy using the strictest craftsmanship standards, ensuring you get the best pair of sunglasses you've ever owned. From men's and women's designs, floatable, alloy frame, and a UV 400 rating, which blocks out 100% of UV rays, Rockwell has everything you need for you and your family. Use our code WT20 for 20% discount at checkout at rockwelltime.com. Hey everybody, thanks for joining the Whiskey Throttle Show. We are outside of the Blue Crew studio today. We're doing what we are calling the desert sessions here over in the Phoenix area at the Barrel Room, exclusive location. And we've got a guest that I've been trying to get on for an awful long time today. He is the very first 125 Supercross champion and the last American world champion. It's Bob Moore. Bob, welcome. I'm so stoked to have you on.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me. I know it's been way too long. I apologize for not being able to free things up, but yeah, with the work and family and all that stuff, it gets kind of hard to travel to California, which I live over here now in Arizona. Nobody
wants to go to California, really. I get it. I completely understand it. And you're busy. You're still traveling so much. It's crazy to me.
I've got a blessed, amazing job with Wasserman. I've had this now going on 21 years. Just been heading up the motorsport department, and I've kind of transitioned from Supercross and motocross, which I originally started, over to a road race, and doing the MotoGP side of things, more working over in Europe and trying to grow our division over there. So yeah, I've been focusing on that for a while. It's a lot of fun. It was kind of something new for me to kind of get into, something refreshing, something exciting to learn. And the crazy thing is that, you know, I spent almost half my life in Europe racing. So I became friends with a lot of people, and it just was really close for me to go over there. I wanted to get back over there. Originally started managing riders in the motocross side of things. But then the money is not the same as it is over here. So I'm like, hey, I got to check out this MotoGP thing. And it was just kind of a twisted tail. I mean, it was just really just landed right on my lap. A MotoGP rider was thinking about leaving. He was an American, John Hopkins. He's like, hey, Bob, I want you to manage me. I'm like, all right, I'll try it. Yeah.
So Hopper was your first guy?
Yep.
Okay.
Hopper's first guy.
And who are you managing over there now? Like, who are some of your guys?
I manage Brad and Darren Bender. Yep. So Brad Bender's in MotoGP. We've been there for 6 years now with Red Bull KTM. I've got Aaron Canet, Jake Dixon. Just the 4 guys right now. Okay. 3 in Moto2 and 1 in MotoGP. So it's kind of like hopefully the guys get better, they'll transfer into the MotoGP.
Bender, he's been doing pretty well.
Yeah, we're having a little struggle this year, but he's starting to pick it back up. He's been 6th, 5th, and 4th in the championship the last few years, so he's
like,
there.
Yeah, he's right there.
But it's, I don't know how much you guys follow MotoGP, but it's pretty tough to beat the Ducatis right now. So they're just it's an amazing motorcycle. So
it's so weird to me how that happens in road racing, because we don't really see that in moto.
Yeah.
Maybe since the 80s with Honda a touch, those works bikes. But like, it's just a different world. If, like you said, if you're not on a Ducati, good luck right now.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, obviously they have amazing riders on Ducati. I don't want to take anyone away. I mean, they're riding really, really good, and they've earned those spots. Like Marc Marquez, he's probably going to win the championship this coming weekend in Japan. He's won the majority of the races, and he's an amazing rider. So it is a little bit different. It's harder for me. I can go to a motocross track, as you can, and go watch amateur kids and just say, that one's got it. Maybe not so much.
Yeah.
You can just see it. Road race is a little bit like that, but it's more. I look at more kind of their personality, kind of how their families brought them up. Kind of look at just being able to be in a position to get to the best team and best bike. That's kind of the way you do it over there. Maybe similar to what Formula One would be or something like that.
Gotcha. Is there a lot of like Formula One? You almost have to. I don't want to say buy your way in, but you spend a lot, and if you don't have the money to spend, you're just not going to get there. Is MotoGP similar to that?
It is, unfortunately. There's a lot of junior teams out there that make a living off of riders that have money and that come into the sport and just want to get noticed. The Benders is a perfect example between both Brad and Darren. The dad has probably invested close to $1 million for them to get started, right? It's not all at once. It's kind of like, here's $200,000 this year, and Brad did a little bit, and another year a little less than Darren, the same thing, a couple of years in a row. The goal is, obviously, if they have the talent and they have the ability, once they have just a decent year, meaning in the top 10, then they'll get paid.
Yeah.
And even the Moto3 or Moto2 guys, which I manage now, are, they're not quite like our Supercross guys over here getting paid, but way more than any of the lights guys, the 250 guys. So
yeah, it's a different world. I mean, and I guess there is more of a financial commitment getting in, but if it pays off, the payoff's huge. What would Marquez make this year, would you guess?
Well, he'll take a big pay cut just because he went to Ducati, but his last pay with Honda was, I think it was $15 million, and that's his base fee.
Yeah.
So he gets pretty good money. He'll probably earn 7, 8 probably this year, maybe a little bit more, depending on some of those other sponsors. But I mean, it is a little different level for sure.
Yeah, cool. Well, it's got to be neat. Still be in motorcycles and motorsport, but you're kind of learning something new, all the new nuances, right?
And that's the cool thing about, again, I go back to this, just wanting to be, still love to travel and love to be over in Europe. There's so many guys I can point out that I grew up racing motocross with over there. I mean, Brad Bender's teammate, Pedro Costa, his crew chief is like one of my mechanic, one of the guys that grew up in Kawasaki over there, right? Okay. So I know him. The boss of Yamaha, who just retired last year, Lynn Jarvis. I mean, when I won my title in '94, he was the boss of Yamaha. So it's kind of like you know these people, and then they kind of just graduate. Not all of them, but a lot of people came from the motocross side.
Yeah.
So it was a little easier transition because at least I had that of the people knew me. I wasn't like this American that came over to manage riders. It's like, oh yeah, that's Bob from motocross days,
That's cool.
So
are you to me, excuse me, air travel and just travel in general has just gotten to be such a nightmare, I mean, it's nice that people aren't smoking on you on the plane next to you anymore, but just security and flights are packed, and I don't know, it's just such a nightmare to me. That was always my biggest kind of ding against, thing I hated the most about racing was the travel. Yep. I feel like you're maybe flying more now than ever.
No, I've got a amazing gig now.
Really?
I really do. I focus my time now going to events where the bosses are at.
Okay.
I focus my time on creating and doing the contracts when, a certain part of the year, which is hopefully if they're doing well, it's earlier in the year versus later in the year. And that's it. I've got enough. I know my way around the thing enough to now where I can just pick up the phone and text somebody or get on a phone and say, look, let's do this deal, or meet with them in person, which a lot of deals in Europe are face-to-face handshake deals that are just, kind of like back in the day. So I've gotten to a point now where I traveled about 12 events during the year, which, they start out in May, and then pretty much I'm done by September, which my last event was a little while ago. Again, I go 12 trips, but a lot of times we'll do like 2 weeks back to back. So it helps out and keeps the cost down a little bit. But I agree. The worst part about this going over there is the travel. I mean, it's so like you get the delayed flights and you get the, just the chaos inside the airports, and it's just, it's crazy.
Yeah, I just don't like crowds. There's so many things about it that are like kind of pet peeves of mine. So just for me, it's about like Reedy. He still loves to fly and travel. He can't get enough of it, and I'm like, well, to each his own. It's got to also for you feel different going to Europe because that was home for a long time. So you almost feel at home. I mean, you know what I mean? Second home.
Yeah. I mean, basically going over there when I was 18 years old. And the first couple of years were really, really tough. But if you do that enough times, and now it's literally like you flying back into Arizona or going wherever. And because you know the roads, kind of how to get there, you've seen that church or that place, it's kind of that way. I mean, I travel to most of the same events. I kind of pick and choose from the really good ones. Again, I try to focus on when the bosses are there, because when the bosses are there are usually the good events as well. So I just do that. But yeah, it's literally like, okay, I'm either going into Heathrow or going into Frankfurt and then splitting off from there and going to another place, and then I land and get a rental car and head to the track.
Are you good driving on the right side?
Sure.
For me, it's like I last time I went to London for Farley Castle, it was a stick shift, and so I'm having to shift with my left. I'm oh man, and I kept going from first to fourth. Just my hand wasn't used to that.
Were you on that side though? Because that's the biggest thing. You should never get a car like you would drive over there. If you have one that's set up over there, then it literally, if you're on the right, then it makes you concentrate, like, okay, your hand's going to shift over here on this side.
Yeah, it was just kind of spinning me out. I got it sorted, but it was like I was hitting curbs coming out of the airport and, like I said, bogging the thing down and grinding gears. I'm like, tough. Hey, that was our motorsport.com gate drop. We forgot to even mention it. You guys check those guys out for anything you need. 2 wheels, 4 wheels, doesn't matter. They have it. Motorsport.com. And get over and check out Whiskey Throttle Media, all the stuff we have going on there. Great stuff, and more coming on the way. So let's get to our guest story. Brought to you by Yamaha. We appreciate those guys, although we're not in the Blue Crew studio, always supporting what they do and glad they support us. So ride blue if you want to, just up your game a little bit. And the new 26s are out. Whew, they're good. Okay, let's start, Bob. Tell me about you. Are you born and raised here in Scottsdale?
I am not. I'm born and raised in California.
Okay.
Northern California.
So tell me about that, because you were like I moved here when I was 10, so it would have been about 85, 86. Mm-hmm. And you were like a ghost. Oh yeah, Bob Moore lives here. Oh no, he doesn't live here. He's in California. But oh no, he's here a lot. I would hear all these stories about you, but I never saw you.
Yeah.
So tell me about where did you grow up?
Okay, so I grew up in Northern California, up in Redding.
Okay.
My dad originally had a camper manufacturing company there. He built campers.
Okay.
For pickups and stuff like that. And this goes way back. Basically, I can't even hardly remember those days, but that was probably when I was 4 or 5, maybe. And then he just got, we got into riding. He was an amateur rider, loved to do the local races and stuff.
Okay.
And so he would throw his bike in, and I started watching him ride. I'm like, hey, I want to try that. So he'd get me this little teeny bike, and we'd go to a race. And then my dad's like, man, I hate traveling, and putting my bikes on these 3-rail trailers and getting them all dirty, because he was all about getting, going there clean.
Was he real clean and neat?
Yeah,
and,
real clean. So he's like, all right, I got to think of something. So he builds his trailer, enclosed, wood trailer that goes all around. It was about the same size as a 3-rail, about 12 feet, 13, 14 feet long, but had place for the gas cans and store, the bags. And it was super cool. So we show up at the first race and, 20 people come walking around checking it out. They're like, man, that's cool. I want to buy it. So he sells the first one. And kind of just like I was telling you a little bit before, that's kind of how I got even started. It was my dad's company that he sold the camper business and started Pro Track trailers. And he's like, he started building these trailers, and we would go week after week after week after week delivering trailers. And he'd be like, Bob, you want to come? I'm like, yeah, I'll go. And so he would, pile in the truck, and he'd go sell a trailer, and I'd go race the mini cycle, class, and then come back over the weekend.
Pro Track, when I was, in those days, I don't know what year he started it. Late 70s?
Yeah, it'd have been probably 76.
Okay.
70, yeah.
Well, by the 80s, like, if you didn't have a Pro Track, it was like, what are you even doing out here? It was like having a Sprinter now.
Yeah.
Was the Pro Track trailer.
Yeah.
They were just very, very clean looking and not too big, you know what I mean? But like fit everything. They were great. Back up a little bit. Before you got into that, what did you do as a kid? Were you into other sports?
No.
Really?
I lived on a farm and, chasing dogs and rattlesnakes around up, maybe a little fishing and stuff and building some forts out in the woods. But my childhood was, again, I shouldn't say a farm. We lived on 15 acres, but it was
out in the country.
I was out in the country.
Yeah.
I walked to school. My dad at that time had that camper shell. He was building campers, and he had a shop off the side of our house. And that's kind of my memories of just walking back and forth to school.
A lot of walking.
Yeah.
Did you have siblings?
I did. I have one sister. Yeah.
Okay. Older or younger?
Older. Yeah,
okay.
3 years. Yeah.
Well, same as mine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. You guys tight?
Yeah, we spent some time together. I mean, she actually lives over in California now.
Oh, okay.
She was back in D.C. for a while, and so she's jumping around. But yeah, I keep in tabs with her.
So then your very first bike, what was it?
My very first bike was that big fat wheeled Honda, that one that was kind of like the bubble tank.
Okay, yeah. The Z50?
No, it was
before that.
It was before that. This has been probably 76 or 77. And then my first real motocross bike, and I can remember it like it was yesterday, getting in the truck with my dad at 4 a.m. from Reading and going up to Oregon, to Eugene, to go to the Honda dealer because they had the MR50. And, wheeling that thing off the showroom floor and throwing it in the back of the truck. I mean, that is, that was it. The MR50 was, at that time.
Those are like core memories, huh?
Yep.
I remember, I don't know if this was the same for you, the dealership we bought bikes from in Montana was called Sport City Cyclery. I can remember the smell.
Yeah.
And it was like the smell of Kawasaki's. I don't know what the heck it was.
Yeah.
Probably toxic manufacturing chemicals, but it's just embedded in my brain,
Yeah. When you
and the guy that was the owner and / salesman reeked of cigarettes all the time.
Yeah. There you go. So you don't smoke now, for sure. Yeah. That's the thing. You have those type of things never leave, right? That just when you're so excited about being in, doing that. And that was getting on a motorcycle and riding. I mean, I had no ambitions to do this for a living or anything. I was just give me some gas and I want to ride. And that was the thing. After walking back and forth from school, I couldn't wait till school was end because I'd literally run home, throw my gear on, fill that bike up with gas. My dad built this little track behind the house, and I literally would ride every day until it was dark.
Yeah,
and that was it.
That was how it started. Yeah. That's awesome. So how long did you just do that before you started racing?
Probably a year.
Okay.
And then my dad was started the trailer company, about the same Pro Track trailers. And then we were basically like, okay, I'll start doing this racing thing. And up in Northern California, it wasn't that big, right? I'd have probably 3 guys on the Cade or whatever. It wasn't like there was a line. But then, came the 80s. And as just growth of motor, of motocross, and even the smaller classes, it was like it started blowing up, right? And then everything was down in Southern California. So at the latter part, I found my dad would, this is when we then started coming to Southern California a lot. He was doing that for me because I was racing then really fast guys down in Southern California versus up in Sacramento and Redding.
So who would have been when you started going to these bigger races, which was like the World Mini around?
Yeah.
Okay.
World Mini was there.
Golden State.
Yeah, that was all the the ones in the winter. Then you had the big ones were the World Mini, the Mini Olympics back in Florida.
Did you guys go to that
Ponca
too?
and Loretta.
Yeah.
So those were the big 4 that you hit.
Okay. Who were the kind of guys in your class always that you found yourself battling with?
Was Eddie Hicks during that time. And
Mouse,
again,
Mouse
I'm kind
McCoy?
of Mouse McCoy. He's a little bit younger, so it was kind of I'll tell you a funny story about that one, but it was a little bit those guys, I'm kind of just explaining when I was maybe fast, right? When I was an amateur or whatever, I was just kind of, but when I got to like a pro level or getting a little bit of money and sponsors and stuff like that, that was that 84 a year was when things started going. And then that time it was Eddie Hicks, Mike Healy, and who else? There was a bunch of other guys that were just in front of me. It was like George Holland, Kehoe, all those guys.
I'm trying to, I might be off on my years, but like, was this Lowell Thompson, Rick Simmet, those kind of guys? Or were they a little younger than you, maybe?
I think that was probably, they were a
right
little
after
younger.
you. Okay.
Yeah. I'm kind of an antique. I'm not quite as old as the George Hall and George
2 years
Holland.
makes a difference.
I know.
You know what I mean? Just different eras. But like, mini cycle racing was so big back then, and if you weren't around it, it's hard to really imagine. But there was magazines dedicated to mini bike racing.
Yep.
60s, 80s, and it was. I remember going to the world. I went in '85 to the World Mini for the first time. First big race I ever went to. Did terribly. Coming from Montana, it would have been like growing up in Redding, and you just show up at the World Mini, and you're like, oh my gosh, I've never been on the gate with more than 5 guys. But I remember those guys I just named, Buddy Antonez, Joel Albrecht, just the Kawasaki Race of Champions. Did you ever do that? I'm sure you did. Yeah.
Yep, I did that too. Yeah, and the Yamaha one as well. We did even the Yamaha one before.
At Indian Dunes, right?
No, that was at Saddleback, I think.
Okay.
I remember doing those. I think it was in '83 or '82, whatever. One of those years, the Yamaha guys had one, and then Kawasaki took it over as well.
So cool.
It was rad. I mean, just again, going back to you wouldn't believe. Just it was almost like at that era, the '82, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7-ish, probably even 6. Probably I don't know how much longer after that I was going to Europe, but it was like there would be sometimes more spectators lining up on the fences to see us battle.
Yeah.
Than there was on the for 125 Pro or whatever. So
it's true. I remember that. I mean, just for me, it was Brian Swink, all those guys. Just Budman, Tommy Clowers, and I went to I was excited to watch that pro race as I was the big bike pros, maybe more.
Well, we had, I mean, not at all tracks, but there was a good amount of them. We were faster than big bikes, so we would go ride with them, be on the line, or even in practices and just passing them and stuff like that. So I think that was one of those things where it was such an era. It forced you to really step up your game. I mean, if you weren't banging bars with, the Mike Healy's and the Eddie Hickses and all of those guys, Ted Campbell, I mean, all these, guys, it was insane. It was a battle every track. And if you go to a Saddleback hard track, you knew that certain guys were super fast. You went up to Indian Dunes in the sand, there was other guys that were fast. So yeah, it was awesome.
Neat. It was a really neat era. I mean, I always tell guys, man, you lived through the coolest era in that 80s window. If you were coming up, it was so big too. I tell people full gates and multiple heats of full gates.
Yeah.
At a Golden State.
Going to even in Loretta, I mean, I went to the first Lorettas, but at that time it was Ponca City was the big one,
Yeah.
right? That was in 83 and 84. And then, but literally you had to, when you got there, you qualified to get into the race, because there was just hundreds, and it was insane.
Yeah, that's wild. So when did you guys ever move to Southern California, or you moved over here?
We did, based on two things. One, I started getting better at racing. So my dad's like, hey, if this racing thing is what you want to do, you've got to compete with the guys that are there every weekend, because we can't keep doing a 6-hour drive.
Yeah, that's a long drive.
And we did a lot of them. Thanks, Mom and Dad, for that. But it got to a point where the majority of also my dad's trailers were getting sold down in Southern California too. So he's like, you know what? We're going to go down here. I'm going to get a shop. We've got a shop right there in Castaic, California, right on the 5 freeway. And my dad just started cranking out trailers at the time. And at the height of him doing the stuff when we were there in Southern California, he was building a trailer a day. And we had 6-month wait of back orders. I mean, he was just flat out. And then he got so engulfed in the work thing. He just said, and this is at 50 years old for him. He's like, this is too much. I'm selling. I'm done. If not, I'll kill myself, because it was just too much work. So he sold it. At fortunate thing, I had just signed from 84 to 85. I signed with Suzuki to be a pro. And basically at that time, that was when my dad sold the company, and he's like, okay, well, I hope this racing thing works out for you.
Good luck.
Your mom and I are going to Arizona.
Oh, so he moved here then.
Yes.
Okay.
So that's when that started.
Okay. So that makes sense then. Because I'll get to it. It's funny, our paths crossed.
Yeah.
So
that's when we started coming back, because I would come over here to visit them.
Okay.
I still kind of technically lived in California, but I'm really close with my parents. I've always been, and so I kind of followed them all around. So.
Yeah, I would kind of go through your wake and hear of you, or there'd be traces of you, which I'll tell those stories later, and then our paths crossed later in my career. So anyway, we'll get to all that. So talk a little bit about your, as an amateur, high-level amateur, when you were, I guess that would have been 83.4?
Yeah. From 82, the year that the Yamaha had that big, the big
and you were on Yamahas
on the front, yeah.
That was wasn't that
going off the jumps like, whoa, and I don't, probably people like you that have known me for a long time, not a lot of people, and they see this, they're like, there's no way, but literally, I was so small. I stopped growing when I was 12 years old. So when I was 16 and a half or 17, when I won the championships back, when my best year was in 84 on an 80, I was perfect size, perfect weight, everything. I was 4'11" and weighed 87 pounds.
Jeez.
That's when I got my driver's license. So I literally still have that.
Do you?
Yeah. I didn't bring it, so you're not going to show it. But I was so small, and when I started driving, I'd get pulled over at least twice a day. Like the cop would go by the other way and go, woo, come after me. And they're like, there's no way that kid's driving. And I'm like, here's my license and everything else. So whatever that was, I don't even know where we were going with, but I was so small. So I stayed until the very last time that I had to get on a big bike.
Yeah.
So that was in 84. I was fortunate enough to win Ponca. Won the Grand National Championship. I won the stock class, and I got second in the modified to Eddie Hicks, I think. And then the 105, I don't even know what. I think Healy won that one or something like that. I can't remember, but and then I went to. I was aged out, right? Perfect size and ability to stay, but I was so small. And I remember, I had my motorcycle that I won from 84. And
you still have it?
No.
Oh.
I won it. I wish I did. It was a brand new Yamaha.
Okay.
And I brought it back, and my dad, he's like, well, you did that run, you did a great job, but you're way too small to ride a 125. There's no way. You could barely even get on the bike, and he says, so, you're going to have to pack it up. I'm like, pack it up? No way. And my dad was pretty hard. Like, he was like, no, that's it. You're done. Done. You know, this is fun while it lasts, but that's it. And I'm like, no. And so I said, can I at least have the money from the Yamaha to sell and buy a bike, a 125, so I can just try? And I did. And I bought Mouse McCoy's practice bike. You know, it was, he had come through. He was, even though he was younger, but he went through the 80 class really quick and went straight into to bigger bikes.
Okay.
And he was on the 125, and so I bought his practice bike because he literally lived down the street from me at the end of the corner.
Castaic.
Yeah. No, at that time we were living in Santa Clarita Valley, off of Sand Canyon.
Got it.
And so he lived down the street. I bought the bike, and you know, I went because we could just ride anywhere from our house and go had these awesome, you know, tracks everywhere. So I just started riding and practicing. I'm like, man, the crazy thing is there's so much suspension. I can just hit bumps where the 80 would like throw me. And I'm like, I don't know what it was. I felt like at home. I felt like way faster on the 125 than I could ever be on an 80. So I like get together. I don't know. I went with somebody. I can't remember my first race, but it was an Ascot. Remember when they had the Ascot night races?
Yeah.
I went down there. I signed up as an amateur, an intermediate class. I wasn't a pro or anything. So signed up down there, killed them. Just walked, like won by whatever. I was faster than a lot of the pros and stuff. I felt good. So I'm like, oh.
Are you starting on like a milk crate or something, or what were you
Pretty
doing?
much, yeah. I had to have rocks or something because I literally was 4'11" on the 125. I mean, they're about the same size now, maybe a little bit taller now, but still, it was just crazy.
Yeah.
But I felt so at home, and I remember coming back, and I told my dad, I'm like, Dad, I killed him. I won. He's like, all right, let's go racing. You know, he was all back. Then he was back into it. He's like, well, let's get some stuff together. And sure enough, at that time, I was kind of supported by Kawasaki.
I was going to say, so through your amateur stuff, were you Yamaha or Kawasaki?
I was Yamaha in 82, 83.
Okay.
And then 84, I switched to Cowie.
Okay.
That was when the
Team Green
was massive.
Yeah.
Bruce Sermstrom, still today there, Kawasaki was amazing. He is still an amazing guy to work with. He's like, Bob, I want you to come over here. He kind of lined this whole plan out. And I'm like, yeah, that sounds good. And their goal after I won was, okay, we want you to stay amateur, go back and do Loretta, and you're on a bigger bike because you had to be. I was on a 125. They wanted me to go that route
for 85.
For 85, correct?
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, that's cool. And so I got after I ended up buying that one bike, I think they were like, okay, well, we're going to give you a contract, but this is what we want you to do. We want you to stay amateur all year. And I think at the time I was probably doing it maybe 4 or 5 races on the Southern Cowie, and I just won everything by like a lot.
Okay.
And it was getting to a point where I was like, I went back to my dad, and at that time I'm 17 years old. All I wanted to do is ride and race. And my dad's like, well, here's what the Cowie contract says. You're going to have to basically not do a lot of racing because you'll point out. And then you'll have to go into the pro class, and that's not what that they didn't hire you to do that. They hired you to go back and win Ponca, Loretta, and do all those. And so I'm like, oh man, I don't know. That's a kind of a bummer. Is there no way out? And they're like, no, that was kind of it. And
you had already signed it?
No, I was still there, and I was talking to Bruce, and I'm like, man, this is a great opportunity, Bruce, but I just want to race. And at that time is when Suzuki came up with this idea, like they just wanted to go hire everybody, right? So they hired Mike Healy, and then I was a part of the team in 85. George Holland, Eric Kehoe, and Russ Wageman. And that was the team. There was like a 5-man pro team. And I still remember going down to Suzuki and signing the contract. And my dad looked over at me when we were coming back. He's like, do you know what you just did? I'm like, no. He's like, you just signed a factory Suzuki contract to ride pro. And I'm like, oh, that is pretty cool. But then I look down at it. I'm like, but Dad, I'm only making $5,000. and you have to pay for a mechanic, all the travel, everything. So it wasn't like it was a cool to get a contract from Suzuki, right? Don't get me wrong, but $5,000, you know, I mean, that didn't even cover any.
But that's kind of what it was back then.
It was.
You know,
it
wasn't like that was a terrible deal.
It was. It was. I got paid, right, and I still got paid from some of the clothing and helmet and stuff like that. You made your money at the races, right? Contingency and the bonus money. That's where you were able to make your money, and so that's.
So when you signed that, were you racing the races you were doing? Were you racing pro yet, or it was still amateur?
I was still amateur because it finished. Loretta finished in August, so I had September, October, November packed of racing, right? So I was racing all those in the amateur.
Okay.
And then during that time, I can't remember what month, maybe it was late October or whatever, I went and signed with Suzuki. And so we just piled a bunch of bikes in the truck and started riding Suzukis.
Okay.
But then I was dedicated to go pro.
And at that point, when you signed that deal, because 85 was the first year that they brought 125s into Supercross. They did the East-West thing.
Yep.
And it was 250, 500 prior to that, right?
Yep. And that was, I believe, 100% the reason why they signed Mike Healy and myself is because they wanted a presence in the junior class, the 125, because it was a new class that they were doing. And so that was,
Yeah. And great idea, right? To make it East-West, give younger kids a chance to get their feet wet. You know, people argue that should go away, and I'm like, I don't know about that. I like the concept. They've screwed it up because ever since COVID, it seems like a West Coast round is in, Florida, and you're like, wait, what? Yeah. Hold on. Yeah. They mixed it up a little bit, but the concept is great. I think Dave Coombs was the one that proposed it. Maybe had a big hand in it.
Yeah.
So, even into the 90s, when I started racing, there wasn't a lot of Supercross practice tracks. And so I wanted to ask, like, how in the heck did you guys even had you ever been to a Supercross at that point?
Nope.
You'd never even seen one?
No. I knew, Ascot, and you go to some of these night tracks where they build a tabletop and a couple of doubles and whatever. That you just did that. The whoops were like, what?
Yeah.
What are these things? So at that era, and again,
but I guess none of the guys you were going to race this class with, they were all in the same boat, right?
Yeah. The crazy thing is, but I was horrible at Supercross. I mean, I really wasn't that good. My mind and my ambition was I grew up seeing pictures of Roger DeCoster and these big GP tracks and rolling hills and jumps and stuff. So I was more of an outdoor guy than Supercross. And I did that race. I only won one race. It was in Dallas because everyone else crashed in front of me. I was never the guy that was the fastest there. I was the most consistent guy.
Okay.
I would race guys. It would be a guy that would win one race, and then the next race he wouldn't even qualify because he just would cartwheel in practice, or in a race. So I'm like fourth and a second and a third, and whatever. And I won one race, and that's how I won. It was the tracks were, again, I had no way to practice this stuff. I was growing up riding just tracks out in the back of the hills, and it was tough for me to do all. And these at that time, it was literally like the doubles were like if you came up this much short, you were dead. Like they were like peaked like this. There was no was no like tapping or nothing. It was like boom. So
they were like that for quite a while before they kind of figured out how to build them. And it would be like different track builders each weekend.
Yeah.
So maybe this one was a certain way and the next one would, be totally different.
Yeah.
So you guys are really either crash test dummies or pioneers, however you want to frame it.
I think both probably, yeah.
But if you look through your results from 85, you were fourth at the opener, 7th, 3rd, 5th. And then when it picks back up, 16th at Houston, which was the East-West. Mm-hmm. You won Dallas or Irving.
Yep.
10th in LA, and then I guess that would have been the final.
Yeah. That was the East-West shootout
Yeah.
thing. So again, you're looking at that, you're like, not a championship style, but I if you look at the competition, it wasn't anywhere close. I mean, I literally won the race that I won in Dallas. I was up front, right? It wasn't like I was back of the pack. I was there, but there was this one double that was, you come out of this corner and there was a right-hand corner right after. And I'm like, man, I just don't, if you jumped it, you had to go outside to go to the berm, but some of the guys would try to jump it and still make the corner. And I'm like, I think I did it once in practice. And I'm like, I can't do this 10 laps in a row.
Yeah.
I'm like, so I just said, let's just go inside, right, you know, and literally a guy would pass me, and this happened twice. A guy would pass me. Oh, it was Larry Brooks. He passed me and he was flying, and then he clipped the thing and went, what? And straight off the berm and crashes. And then, you know, the next guy comes up, same thing, just goes wide and crashes. And I'm like, all right, I won this one.
I mean, it had to be wild. I almost want to go back and see what I can find on the internet of that season, because I don't imagine anybody had a good suspension setup or bike setup. You're all just figuring out as you went. Yeah. There's no place to practice this.
No, there was no setting your bike up hard, you know, for the whoops or for the jumps, nothing. I mean, literally, I was outdoor bike, rolled straight over, and that's the bike you rode.
Which is so, like, today, you'd be like, dude, no, you're not riding that on this track. Yeah, it's super interesting. Okay, I sped up a little bit. I want to back up. I have a picture of you with Kyle Fleming racing at Ponca. Mm-hmm. We'll try to drop it in here. It's
Fleming,
super cool.
Bruce Brunch, that crazy, horrible,
was that 83?
It was either 82 or 83. A horrible time in Ponca City when they were going to, and I got invited to go in the car to go with them.
So did Larry Brooks, right? Like, it was and several of you didn't.
Yeah, and for whatever reason, I didn't get in the car to go with them. I don't know. My dad was like, you got to wash bike or whatever, something like that. I didn't go, right? And then we hear this aftermath, and it was almost kind of like it wasn't real, right? It was like, no way. I mean, Bruce was, you know, as a dear friend of mine. I'd go down and practice when he was one of the guys that I looked up to, because he was like 2 or 3 years older, and he was that pro when I was the amateur 80 rider. Okay. And so, talk about just a horrific accident that happened. It was just crazy.
So I didn't know if you knew any of them, but so you did know at least one of them pretty well, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. What was that when you hear that actually happen? What was the vibe because they were on their way to the awards banquet, right?
Yeah.
Wasn't that what it was?
Yeah. It was coming back. I think it was during the event. So it was like a Saturday or something. I think they were going to a water park or something. They were going to come back, and it was on the way back. And so when it happened, even with no cell phones and no everything, literally within a half an hour, the whole, at the time there's probably 3,000 people at Ponca City, and instantly everyone knew, and it was just like it was just a slumber. It was just like, oh, it was horrible. I mean, how do you digest that, right?
Just definitely one of the heaviest moments in our sport, I think, ever.
To two of the really, really promising upcoming kids to get killed, and it was horrific. It was absolutely.
To relate it, to maybe people in my generation, it's like if in that Terra Firma video where you got Carmichael, Stewart, and Pastrana in that video. And they were all Fox guys. Imagine if they were driving back to the track and all got killed in got hit by a train. Yeah. You just be like, what? And what is that? What did we just get robbed of, potentially? Mm-hmm. So anyway, I just wanted to ask you about that because it's, Kyle Fleming was from here. Yep. And we for years did the Kyle Fleming Memorial Race in Blythe. Yep. I didn't know him, but I, obviously heard all the stories and went to that race. And Robert Naughton, who he built. Have you seen the bikes that he built? 3 RM 80s that are.
I didn't.
Oh man, I'll have to show you photos. They look just like the race bikes. Wow. And he took them to the Phoenix Supercross a couple years ago, and Larry Brooks came over because he was a Suzuki kid too, right? Mm-hmm. And he's kind of squatted down, and Fig said he was just kind of like lost in it. And he goes, "Dude, I feel like I'm in a time machine. Like this, I'm tripping."
That's cool.
So, anyway. And it's interesting, there was a huge group of riders here in Arizona. Did you, before you moved here, or your parents did you ever come over here and race like the Cycle Amp Classic or the Bosch Classic?
No, I did. I was just strictly in California. Okay. I went to Southern California as I started getting better, but there was plenty of competition down there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, we would go to the some of the other races they had in Texas and stuff like that. Like there was a couple big
Lake Whitney.
And you know, we did those.
Okay.
But those were like mini, you know,
Yeah.
Ponca cities and Loretta's, right?
Okay, so you raced this 125 championship. You wrap it up at LA, I'm assuming?
No, actually, I wrapped it up earlier because the LA, the Coliseum was the East-West shootout.
Okay.
So I was able to.
That wasn't for points.
No, it wasn't for points. I had the coolest bike. I mean, my bike had the blue #1 plate on it and everything. SD Racing was the guy that powder coated my frame. I mean, I had a tricked out bike. I just did terrible in the race, but it wasn't a. I'd already won the championship before.
So you won in Irving when you won. That was the race before. Oh.
Yeah.
Well, how cool is that? You win the race and wrap the title up.
But, you know, back then there was no like, here's your medal, here's your #1 plate or nothing. You know what? It took me over 20 years to get my #1 plate.
Shut up, really?
I'm dead serious. I have it now. It's at the house, but whatever. I mean, they mailed it, but it went to somewhere else. I never got it. It was like, it was the first year. You know, I know it's a big thing now, and rightfully so, because the guys are amazing doing the Supercross and stuff now. But it just was. It's almost like we're gonna try this thing out and see if it's any good, and if it's good, then we'll maybe keep it. But we're not really sure.
Yeah.
That's kind of how the first ever 125 West and East Coast race went.
So were your parents in Dallas? Did they get to see that?
I think my dad came out for it. Yeah.
But it wasn't a ton of fanfare or celebration. It was kind of like, hey, good job, dude.
Yeah, it was cool. Yeah. I mean, I was on the podium, and I think I got to kiss the what was it? Maybe the cigarette girl or camel chick or whatever, right? And get my trophy. I still have the plaque. You know, I got this little plaque.
Yeah. Well, the trophies were terrible.
Yeah.
Even into the 90s, they were like, you could win a cooler trophy at a local track.
Well, hence, again, why I wanted to go to Europe, because I looked at the stuff that they had over there. I was like, rad. That's cool to get.
That's funny stuff. Had you grown at all at that point? Were you growing?
No.
You're not 4'11" anymore, so you grew at some point.
So the true story, not a lot of people know this, but when I was, I think, 16, my mom's, you know, starting to get a little worried. Bob, you've kind of stopped growing, and you're at 12. And so we went to UCLA medical thing and to get like tested. And they basically, the doctor comes in and takes a picture of my hand. And he's like, okay, well, because we can tell how big you're going to be. And so he comes back. He's like, well, I got some good news. I said, he goes, you know, when you finish growing, you're going to be between 5'9" and 5'10". I'm like, sick. Cool. When's that going to be? He's like, well, I don't know. He's like, you know, it's just you're late in puberty and everything else. He said, you're just delayed. He's like, but what we can do is, you know, we can give you these shots of these hormone shots, you know, once a month.
Like just growth hormone,
probably? Like a growth hormone. I'm like, all right. So I ended up taking those for, you know, maybe 4 or 5 shots or whatever. Didn't help it a thing.
Really?
Nothing. And literally, I started growing when I was 22, 23, but I was already over in Europe at that time. Yeah. I mean, you see any picture.
How weird is that? Like at 23, you just growing.
Yeah. No, it was wild. I was just really, really small.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I didn't go from like being 4 foot, you know, to, you know, 5, whatever.
Right.
I mean, it was just really, really gradual while I was 19 and 20 and 21. So,
that's interesting. Do you remember Andy Harrington? Remember that name?
Yeah.
He was the same way. Just was not like growing, you know. And so his family did the same thing. And he goes, man, I didn't grow at all, but I had an erection all day long for like almost a year. That's funny. Anyway, okay, so you win this championship. You do the outdoor season. It goes okay. Well, how would you say the outdoor?
I mean, I did fine. I think I got 10th overall in the championship. I mean, I had some good races, okay races. The thing that was really tough was my conditioning. I, you know, wasn't near in shape enough. The heat back east with the humid races was it was killer. And I think that every person has a different effect when it's hot and humid like that. I just think your DNA is set up that way. Mine just didn't jive with it. For whatever reason, I just was like, I just would get
Crushed you.
Crushed.
Yep.
Yeah. And being that I was that big too on a 125 trying to compete with the guys, it didn't.
Were you were you getting, did Suzuki give you a box fan or?
Yeah, so basically no, my dad had to buy it, but because I got $5,000, right? So we had to pay for a mechanic, pay for all the travel, gas, insurance, everything, and my $5,000 check was sent to me, and then I got bonus money and contingency, and we went to the races. But then my dad had already sold, Pro Track, and he's like, look, dude, I'm, living in Arizona, this whole racing thing is great, but I spent $40,000 of my own money to have you go race. He's like, that's not working for me. And so I'm like, okay, but what do I do? It's like the end of '85. I won the Supercross championship. I got 10th in the outdoors. It wasn't horrible. I mean, I didn't light the world on fire, but I wasn't, I deserved a ride and was going to keep going.
And
right?
no championship bonus for that?
Yes and no. I did have it in my contract. I was supposed to get $30,000 for the win, and I called up, and so I said, "Hey, Pat Alexander at the time." I'm like, "Where's my $30,000? I kind of need it. I need to kind of get going." And they're like, "Well, it was an East-West shootout, and you didn't win that. You didn't, so we're not gonna pay." And I'm like, "Wait a minute, So you're telling me I could have stayed home all year and just rode that one race and got that money?" And he's like, yeah. And whatever. I don't know what happened. The unfortunate thing for them is then they did it the next year when Willie Surratt won. And then Willie, he got mad and sued him, and, he did a little lawsuit. So obviously he ended up getting the money, but I wasn't going to go down that road. I'm like, whatever, okay. And then I went back to him. I'm like, guys, I made $5,000, thank you, but we spent a lot of money to go racing. Can I just get a little bit more help? And they're like, no, you have a contract, and we're not letting you out. That's it. That's all you get. So it's either you do that or you don't race. And so I'm like, okay, fantastic. And so I remember talking to my dad, and he's like, I don't know what to tell you. I'm like, I'm not going to do this again. This is you're supposed to earn this on your own. And so I was just kind of down, and it was weird. I got this call. One of the riders, and I think it was Willie Surratt, he was supposed to go do a race in Italy, and he got injured. And so the next guy they called was me. And it was a 250, like it was the Saporiti Italia race, the fast cross. Yeah. And so I'm like, well, okay, I'll go. Yeah, sure. Give me a plane ticket and hand me over. I'll just be something to do. So I get there, and they roll out a 250. And mind you, I've never in my life rode a 250, let alone try to start one. I've just rode 125s. And I'm like, guys, I can't ride a I've never won. He was like, what do you mean you're a pro? And I'm like, I know, but look at me. I'm not a 250 rider. So they found this used 125, and they allowed me to race a 125 in the 250 class.
Okay.
And I think I got like third or fourth or whatever. I did really good, especially because I was on a 125, and the people over there freaked out. They're like, this little teeny kid on a 125 is racing with all these big bikes. So I became this like mini celebrity.
Okay.
Long story short, I did all these interviews, and I just said, look, my dream is one day to race world championship. I've always just wanted to become a world champion. That was kind of what I've always wanted to do. And lo and behold, this guy that was he had a road race team, but he wanted to start a motocross team. His name is Roberto Galina. And he basically gave me a call while I was over in California. He said, hey, Bob, I currently I have the factory Suzuki road racing team that does the MotoGP stuff over here, which it wasn't MotoGP, it was 500 Grand Prix racing at the time. He's like, I have this team, but I want to do a motocross team, and I want you to race for me in the 125 class. And we're going to get factory bikes straight from Japan and everything else. I'm like, right on, okay. He's like, oh, and we're going to give you like $30,000. I'm like, whoa, give me the paper, I'll sign. And that was it. Literally within like a day, I went from not having anything to like basically call Pat up and say, adios, I'm not going to do this, to getting a ride. And, God is great. He gave me a bike that was a Suzuki. So I wasn't technically even out of my contract. Right, I went back to Suzuki, and I told him what had happened. I said, I'm going to be racing world championship for Suzuki. Can you let me out of the contract? And like, you know what, Bob, we'll do one even better. We're going to give you the bikes. We're going to pay you bonus money, the same for racing Grand Prix than you would over here. And I'm like, awesome. So that was kind of my.
Okay, they made up for it a little bit.
Made up for it. So yeah, so that was it. I started, then I got on a plane.
Okay, so I always wondered how that happened. How did you get so infatuated with Grand Prix? I mean, back then it was hard to, you couldn't watch them on TV.
It was the newspapers.
Just cycle news?
Just the cycle news and the motocross actions and I don't know. I think it was just the picturesque, view of a track on the side of a hill, a grassy hill with the banners around and just full of people and just a big launching jump and go across the. I mean, I just looked at that as like, that is motocross to me, right? Because I idolized all the guys in the 70s, right? And the guys that were doing that was at the gnarly, before the Americans kind of took over.
Yeah.
It was Europe. I mean, the guys. Eric Abors, Malherbe, George Dobay.
Those were your guys.
Those are the guys. Roger DeCoster. I mean, that was the guy. Yeah. And at that time, you looked at that as like that was the pinnacle, right? Those guys were rolling in the cash, massive money, 100,000 spectators at almost every race they went to. I mean, that was motocross, right? Yeah. So that in the 70s, I think growing up, that was kind of just what I was, drawn to. Not that the Supercross wasn't cool and the motocross over here wasn't good. I loved it. I mean, I loved riding a motorcycle. So, but yeah, it was just kind of, that was the transition for me.
Yeah.
I just wanted to do that.
It's just interesting because it's, even back then, it wasn't not a lot of people had that. Maybe they thought they couldn't get there or it seemed out of reach or difficult. But like not a lot of people were drawn to it like that. Mm-hmm. So you were, from
that and also again, I don't want to get the wrong impression. I love Supercross, but I saw that my first year, and how hard it was. I'm like, this is where the sport is going. I already knew in '85, like in 5 years, like if you're not winning Supercross titles, you're on the outs. Like you could see that trend because it was so cool. I mean, you're in a stadium. Women and children and stuff. You could just go there and you could see the passion and stuff, and it was rad. But I was like more the traditionalist. Like I like to see a track going up this massive hill and back down and off a jump and ruts, and that was kind of what I loved, right? And that was kind of why I was driven away.
Okay. So tell me about your first. How did you first go over? I'm hoping your dad went with you. I mean, you were what, 19? 18?
18, yeah.
So tell me about that first trip over.
First trip over, no, my dad didn't go with me. It was like I think it was my good friend Scott Sepkovic.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think he, at that time.
Was it Rip Rock back then?
It was Rip Rock. Yeah. It was my bud. He's Hollywood. I mean, those stories that I have back then were just amazing. Like, he became my friend in '85 because he was really close with my mechanic Haas at the time. Okay. And so obviously when we went back east, we became really close, and I stayed at his house and just got really connected with him. And so every time I went back out there, I would always call him, and then he would travel to California and visit and whatever. So I'm like, hey Scott, like, dude, I got a gig. I'm going to go to Europe. You want to come? Yeah. He's just drop everything. He didn't have any job or
Where did he live at the time?
He lived back in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
In Connellsville. Yeah.
Okay.
At his parents' house. Yeah. So he basically.
So he just rolled with you.
I think I may have gotten this story wrong, but I remember flying back because he didn't have a passport, right? And we ended up going to New York. We had to fly up to New York and then to go to the embassy to get his passport. And our plane ticket was like on Tuesday, and we go up there. We're just two kids, I'm this 10-year-old kid walking around with Scott, and we're just in the streets, and ended up going. And then we found out that the embassy was closed because it was like a holiday on that Monday. So we're like, and our plane ticket was the next day, and so we had to postpone that one, and then we ended up getting it flying over there. But I don't really remember much when we got there. It was just that it was cool having him there just with me the first 2 weeks, I think it was. Talk about culture shock. I literally went from 3 squares a day with my mom and laundry and having everything there at the house to living not even by myself, because I lived with my mechanic and his mom in a 1-bedroom apartment in Genoa, Italy. Because I was petrified. I'm like 18, and I'm over there in Italy, didn't speak a lick of Italian, no nothing. And it was tough. Like, dude, it was like for the first over a year, like I was crying myself to sleep because I hated it so much. I'm like, I can't get through this, and I don't know what's going on. I spent all that 30 grand that I made from my first year on plane tickets, because if there was a weekend off, I was flying home. And so it was really, really tough the first 2 years. And it wasn't until after that I'm like, look, dude, if you want this racing thing to work out, you're going to have to buckle down. And I figured out that the way to be successful over there is you have to live like you're there. Like, don't live like you're back in California.
You're not an American living there. You've got
to submerge yourself with them and just deal with it.
Assimilate.
And so that's what I did. So from the third year on, that's kind of.
But those first 2, you were fighting it, and it was just misery.
Yeah.
And you lived in Genoa for the first
year in Genoa. Back and forth. I lived a little bit in La Spezia. That's where the team was. It was about a 45 to an hour drive back and forth. But my mechanic had a bike shop, a little like a repair shop, about the size of the barrel room right there. and I would just go there. And this is downtown Genoa, Italy. And I would be there on a chair all day, looking at magazines, watching people walk back. I mean, that was literally what I did all day long. Because there was no like, okay, yeah, once in a while we would load the truck up and we'd go practice, and I'd go an hour or so away and train and ride. But that was it. Like, it's so, you think of how even these mini cycle kids prepare themselves, right? I mean, back in those days, I just didn't have anything there. I was pumped to go to the races, because then I knew I could speak English with other people. Literally, that's what I was building myself up all week, because I was just stuck in this one little shack, reading some magazines and then walking to lunch and then coming back and doing the same thing until like 6 o'clock, and then we would go back and have dinner and go to bed, right? I mean, that was just every day.
Did your mechanic speak English?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, he spoke English. Funny guy. It's been years since I've connected with him, but yeah, we've kept in touch for a while.
I mean, he probably kept you going. That was your only.
He was my life. My life was him.
How did the races go that first season? And you only did one season here in the U.S., but how did it compare?
It was similar. In the fact of results, I would have some really good races. The thing that got me most was there were 40 plus 2, and not, and so I remember countless races where I was leading or second or third, and then the 20-minute board would come out, and I'm like, what?
Not even halfway.
I'm dead.
Yeah.
And I would just start scratching my seat, and people just flying by me, and ended up getting 10, 12s, so it was, I did have a breakout race the first year in Germany. I got 2 seconds back to back, and I Davy Strybos won one race, and I think Cantini won the other race, but I was really, really fast, and that was kind of like my breakout. Like, okay, it was mid-season. And so it was like, wow, okay, this kid can ride. I was always fast enough. Like, qualifying wasn't, ever the guy that would go out and set the world on fire, but I always be top 5, right? I could ride with any of them.
So you knew, okay, I'm fast enough.
Yeah, exactly.
But it was obvious your fitness wasn't there. But But it's hard if you can't go ride.
Yeah, so
what were you doing? I mean, like,
I was just nothing. I would sometimes go to a gym. I literally the first 2 years I did 0 training.
Was it because you didn't have?
I didn't have access. I didn't want. I mean, again, go back to when you were that adolescent, right? I was so young, and the way I thought, I needed someone around me. Like going out to this down to the corner and getting a sandwich was like scary because I didn't know anybody.
Yeah.
You know, and if you're in another country, you know, whatever, some police guy comes and takes you off and puts you in prison. I mean, you have nightmares about that kind of stuff. So I was like timid and just petrified. I was like, I needed someone to go with.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until really then the third year that I was over there that I ended up getting, ended up going to KTM.
Okay.
Which wasn't much better because I'll explain that story.
Were you learning Italian? Were you trying, or were you kind of like, I'm not?
I was starting to learn certain words, but I wasn't. You know, I was 18, 19 years old. I just wasn't into it. All I wanted to do was get on a plane, go home, and see my friends. And that's when I came home. I did some training too, right? Then hung out with my buddies, and then got on a plane and flew back. So that was the first 2 years.
I mean, at 18 years old, if you put yourself, okay, where was I at 18? And then now imagine going to Europe by yourself in that situation.
And it's nothing like it is now, right? There's one currency.
Right.
There's no borders. It was back then you had to change money every time you went into another country. So that'd be like changing money to go to California, changing money to go to Nevada, changing money to go to New Mexico. You had borders, security, passport, show them, get stamped, like they'd go through your clothes. It was hardcore. Like that was the stuff you had to do while you made your trip to, the races. So it was just, yeah.
Okay, so the second season you were there, was it 87, and you went to a Honda team.
Yeah, so that same team,
same guy.
The same Roberto Galina, he switched from Suzuki to Honda.
Okay.
And so he's like, okay, Bob, well, we're going to race Hondas next year. I'm like, okay, cool. And he said, but, HRC doesn't build because they were just all into the Fat 500 at the time with Malherbe and all that. They had all those works bikes. They don't mess with a 125. He said, but we've got the guys at Mugen.
Oh.
Is going to give you, going to get you set up with the Mugen bike. And probably, I don't know if you're a little bit younger. So the 87, anyone that kind of rode during my era, the 87 stock the Honda 125, the CR, was just such a good bike.
Yeah.
It was so fast. I remember that winter in January getting a Honda, buying it at a shop, and then just riding it, in Southern California because I was living down there, and I just was falling in love with the bike. So it was a great bike to start with. Then I got factory Showa suspension, and I got, some carbon bits. I got this, I got a cool picture. I had got the whole white Mugen Honda, basically.
Dang.
And it was the raddest bike, Wasn't the fastest, but it was pretty much my favorite. It was kind of one of my favorite bikes of the whole era that I was over there because it was so cool.
What was the fastest bike like that year on the track? Was there a team or a
Probably the Kachiva.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Kachiva they were just head and shoulders. I mean, they had Strybos and Contini. They had some just gnarly. I mean, that race the year before when I was in second, or I got 2 seconds. They had like a hairpin corner going into a fast down the start straight into this big long corner, and then jump down this hill. But I mean, it was long, and I was maybe 100 pounds. And I got passed by the Kajiva, and there was a big guy just going, meh. That's how fast those bikes were. I mean, it was, and I had a Suzuki, at the time, but it was unfair advantage, almost at the time.
It's so weird to me to think that a Kajiva was the best bike, or
it was the fastest. I wouldn't say it was the best. It was the engine of those things were amazing.
Well, even when Chiodi won on the Husky, over here, no one even thought of riding a Husky, and he's crush. From what I understand, that bike was like a weapon.
Yep. And it's similar. So when I went 88, I signed with KTM. Same thing. Like,
yeah, 88's way early for KTM.
88, 89, 90, like that era, over there, complete works, hand-built bikes, right? Like there was nothing on that thing that you could bring home and pretty much bolt on a bike over here. So over here, I would just go to the dealer, right, and pick my, two 125s, off the showroom and try to practice around here, and literally would go maybe 3 days, and then it would break. And then I'd have to go down, and I'd always have two bikes because I'm piecing it together just to practice. Because the thing, it just wasn't the same bike at all.
Yeah.
The stock bike was not anything like that bike over there. But over there, like probably 80, let's see, would have been 89. Yeah, 89.
Yeah, 89 you were KTM.
Yeah, and all the way to 91. Probably 91 was the fastest 125 I ever rode in my life. I mean,
the KTM.
I'm telling you, this thing was a rocket ship.
Yeah. They've always been fast. Even when they came over here in early 2000s, they were missiles.
Yeah.
But they could also get them to handle over there, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, well, you had such, at the time there was the works, rule was not even in play. You had everything at your,
That's crazy. So take me through 87, that Honda team. You were 7th in the championship.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have any kind of breakout rides there? Was it better than the year before?
It was a little bit better, a little bit more consistent. I kind of believed in myself a little bit more that I can ride with these guys. I just need to do the training bit.
Did that come around? Like
it did a little bit, but not much.
Okay.
And again, don't get me wrong. I'm probably, if there's anything I was probably really not so good at, and that was training. I was just, honestly, I just was lazy.
Really?
I had this natural ability to ride, God-given ability to ride a motorcycle, and I trained, but it wasn't anything like,
Sometimes, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but like sometimes, looking back when I was younger, you only know what someone shows you or what you know. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like if you don't know hey, here's how you have to train.
Yep.
If someone doesn't show you that or model it to you,
Yeah.
Did you have anybody like that?
Zero.
Yeah.
Until later, right? It wasn't until probably 1990, 89, 90, that era is when I started like figuring this training thing out. And I went from 4th in the championship to 2nd, right? So I was building, my conditioning, training more, running, cycling, mountain biking. And I was actually practicing getting a track to ride a little bit. So I started building that way and started learning the ways to do it, to figure it out.
So that second season on the Honda, a little bit better, but a lot of the same.
Mm-hmm.
You had mentioned, I read somewhere that Catherine LeClanche was your agent.
Mm-hmm.
When did you pick her up?
I think that would have been probably 1990-ish, around there. That was basically, she was my manager, but she did all the international races for me. So she would give me the money when I was off season or during a break or whatever. She's like, "Hey Bob, you want to go do this race in France and they'll pay you, $4,000." I'm like, yeah, let's get in, let's go. So that was that.
She was, other racers from that era will know her. Because she did races for me as well. Anyone that really wanted to go do European stuff, she was the go-to,
Yep.
And sweet lady.
Unbelievable, yeah.
Her little motorhome rig that her and her husband
Not a little, the hand-built one.
It was like...
but that was them, they just had a heart and a love for the sport that it was like, we just need to get there. So it's just awesome people.
They were great.
Yeah.
She was great. I didn't know the husband too well, but she was just something else.
Yeah.
She was a character. So was she your agent throughout your whole career?
Yes, but she did none of my contracts for the bike deals, right?
Just the international
She just did all the international, all the races and stuff like that.
Okay. So 88, take me into that season. Who were you riding for again? Same team?
So I was on 88, the Honda, or no, 87, sorry.
87 was the Honda.
The 87 to 88 went from KTM.
Oh, that was KTM.
Kind of another little blurb in the Bob Moore racing history was end of 87, we go into, and I'm thinking, all right, I'm going to race for these guys again in 88 with Honda. And then I think it was like November, Roberto called me up. He's like, "Bob, we're dropping the motocross program, not going racing. Sorry, we know it's maybe a little late," but I'm like, late, it's November. I got to, and so literally it was done. I was like, great. What I have to do, I guess I have to come back and race some local races in California and kind of build up from there. And, again, God's great. Got a phone call to go do this Hardcross race in Austria, in Vienna.
Okay.
And I'm like, what is Hardcross? And they're like, oh, well, it's motocross bike. We ride 125s, but we go on the velodrome where the bicycles
like a
do.
Hardcross.
Yeah, like a Hardcross. It was, Hardcross. He said we put these tires on there. They're like trials bike tires, and you just race a motocross track around that. I'm like, okay. So
all right,
because I had nothing to do, so I'm like, get on a plane, show up, do this Austria. I'd never done this thing ever. Like a couple other guys came over from America, whatever.
Was Jim Hawley at that one? He used to do a lot of those.
Yeah, I think he might have been there. I can't really remember all it was, but I had an amazing race. I won both nights, both qualifiers, just pulled away. I don't know what it was about how, maybe it was because of the Saddleback Park, right? Riding on
hard
stuff
pack.
like this and just sliding and had the throttle control and all that. I just loved it.
Yeah.
It wasn't hard. And I won.
Did they make jumps out of wood?
Yeah, everything was wood.
And did you go up the stairs too? There was one I saw where you went upstairs through the tunnel, then back down. I'm like, what is going on?
You came down and turned, and then you got on the on the bank, and literally you're clicking gears at fourth, and you're going so fast, the suspension pushes you all the way to where it's like you're just squeezed down, and then you'd pop up, and then slide into the corner, and then they would cut telephone pole things in half and lay them down for the whoops.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, it was crazy.
Somebody said too, in spots they would put Coca-Cola down to make it sticky. Was
I
that
never,
not of this
no,
one?
No,
okay.
no. You didn't want any liquid down. I mean, and that was the thing. You had huge tanks for your overflow of the water.
Oh, so
because any water,
yeah.
I mean, you're done. You're down the road taking people out. So, but crazy, won it, and lo and behold, the boss of KTM's there. And he comes visits me after the race, and he's like, hey, I really like what we saw. What are you doing next year? I'm like, nothing. I don't have anything. He's like, well, we want you to come to the factory this week. And I'm like, well, I'm supposed to leave tomorrow. And like, no, we want you to come because we want to sign you for next year to race Grand Prix. I'm like, sweet, okay. So I went.
Still in Mattighofen, same place?
Yeah, well, I was in Vienna, so it was like 3.5 hours away, right, in Vienna. And so I drove down on Monday. I visited the factory, toured the facility. They showed me all the bikes and what they're doing and, all this. And then I think they gave me a contract for like 50, 60 grand and said, going to give you a bonus system. And then I said, well, where am I going to live? And he's like, well, we'll put you in these, if you want a place to live, we'll house you over here in this. It was like an apartment complex, but it was literally like hotel rooms.
I think I stayed there.
That one right close to the railroad track there?
Yeah.
And that's where I lived for 3 years. Same place.
Dang.
So it was, it was crazy. I ended up going down there, having a great time. And then they're like, you know what, Bob, we want you to race the Hardcross in Switzerland this weekend. Will you do that for us? I'm like, sure. Okay. And so I went down there and won that one. And it was like.
How was that bike? You raced their bike, I'm assuming.
I raced their bike, and that was a 250. So one of the first times I even got on a 250 was at a Hardcross race. So I won I won that thing, and it was just like I was just like this sensation over there. I was like, this is cool, Rad.
Yeah.
And so I flew home, and then that was it. That was my start to the 1988 season with KTM.
That's awesome. So in '88, Healy was there with you too, right?
No, that was
not at KTM, but he was racing Grand Prix.
Yeah, he was. I think he came over in '88. Yeah,
Kajiva or Suzuki?
Yeah, he was Kajiva. I think.
Kajiva, okay.
Yeah.
Was it? That was the other thing I wanted to know was, in any of these seasons, was there other Americans at the time? Was Schmidt there yet?
No, that was later. He came over like in '80. I think he came over in '90. He just came over in '91.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just would imagine, explaining to me what, and I've heard this from other guys before, like it's lonely. You're just lonely.
Yeah.
when you get to a race, I would imagine I'd be like making a beeline for any other Americans.
That's what I did. So like I would go to other mechanics or people that I knew spoke English. That was so fun to go there and just hang out with people that that spoke your language.
Or like Australian, South Africans, was it kind of like you just made friends with whoever you could?
I made friends with anyone that could speak English.
That's what I imagine.
I was hanging out. Like, I'm just a pretty easygoing guy, but just let's chat.
Yeah. Please, I just need to stop reading magazines in a tiny little garage.
Yeah.
Okay, so take me through 88. How did that go on the KTM? Bike was a missile that year, you said?
Bike was a missile. Again, I did pretty well. I ended up getting injured that year. I think I broke my ankle.
Oh, yeah. I said it showed you missed 4 rounds. So.
Yeah, I broke my ankle, and I think it was in Switzerland. It was one of those ones I went into a corner, and they had the big tires, about this high, and it just caught and spun my ankle around and broke it. So yeah, that was the end of that season for me. But I did good. Like I made another step up, was training and stuff like that. So yeah.
And that was the year JMB won the title. If I remember
that is 88.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was that? Did you learn anything watching him, or like kind of who was?
100%. And people ask me all this, and I'll argue to the day I die. JMB was the most talented person on a motorcycle I've ever seen in my life. Dirt, road, but it didn't matter. I mean, the guy, he would do stuff on the track that you could not mimic or even get close. And it was just, that was the year before. So 87, I beat him, right? That was his first year, and he was on Honda with France Honda or whatever. And I beat him in the championship. I mean, he was just coming up, but he was like, I think he finished like 15th or 14th. He was getting better. But the next year, that's when he got that HRC ride. He was number 3 or whatever. No, not even maybe that. He went not so good, 3rd, and then won the world championship. And so maybe that was it. So I was competing with him that year, the year before. Then that year that he won the championship, he was just unstoppable.
Yeah, I saw him do things. 92 Tampa, I want to say it was. I don't know if you remember this Supercross race. He was in 5th, just cruising the whole race. Doesn't even look like he was trying. A lot of times looked like he didn't care.
Yeah.
But I mean, Bradshaw, Stanton, Wardy, like all of the heroes up in front of him. And with 2 laps to go, it's like he just went, okay, I'll win. And he just passed 2 of them through the whoops, turned, passed 2 more through the next set of whoops, and went inside in this corner. Somehow got grip.
That you never would go inside, right?
Never.
Yeah.
Jumped something right out of the inside where I'm like, it defied physics, and he won. And I'm just like,
so
what?
I saw that like from me to the camera away. I saw him when he would pass me, what he would do afterwards, and it wasn't like, okay, I'm going to set him up in the next corner, because he was so far gone after that. There was no way. He was unbelievable, and a really nice guy too. I really became pretty close with him, friends. When we were there, he moved from that class when he won the championship, and then he went to 250 right after that. So I didn't really get to see him much, because at that time we all the Grand Prix
different rounds, huh?
Yeah, it was 500 had their ones, 250 had theirs, and 125 had theirs. All separate countries, separate dates, everything.
Yeah, that's so weird that they would do that way. Okay, so how'd the rest of that season go though? Had a little bit of injury. Did you have good rounds though?
I did have some really good rounds, some seconds, some thirds, whatever. I earned enough to the respect from KTM. They're like, yeah, we definitely want you. We're going to give you some more money. We want you to sign again. And so that was kind of going from the 88 into 89.
Okay.
And that's really the kind of the turn where I went from just kind of figuring this thing out to then taking it pretty serious and like having a good way to train and ride and prepare and know my weaknesses and strengths.
Was there a rider or someone that kind of helped you with the training, or was it just you kind of figuring out it over time?
Yeah. Seeing other people, reading about it a little bit more, kind of, and then putting myself in position, right, where I was then a little bit more comfortable with living there. Austria was a lot easier to live because everyone spoke English.
Oh, okay.
The weather was horrendous because it rained all the time, but I was a lot happier during my Monday to Friday type
Gotcha.
life.
What was in all of your time over there, but I guess the early years, what was the biggest hurdle, like culturally? Was it food? Was it just not having people to talk to? Was it the schedule? The schedule of the way people live, and restaurants shut down at certain times. I mean,
it's everything.
It's just all of it.
It is and that kind of go back to that. After the first 2 years, I'm like, you try to live your life like you're living in California. And it's like, you can't go to the bank at this time of the day, or go to the grocery store, or, it just, you had to just unplug, put that aside, put a calendar on your day, like when, in the winter time when you're going to fly back home, and then say, that's, when I get to go home.
Yeah.
And until you did that, you'd just be miserable. Yeah.
You see it both ways. I think JMB even was a little bit like that when he came here. He didn't really assimilate into our culture.
Yeah.
You could tell he fought it, and he left way too early. Selfishly, I would have loved to see him stay, but it doesn't matter where you go. If you try to take your culture there and live your way, you're gonna fight it.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely.
Okay, so you were fourth that year in '89. Trampas Parker won the title.
So you said that. I just laughed because Trampas Parker, like, I knew him as Chad Parker, and back in the racing and
why did they call him Trampas? Why did his name change?
I'm not lying at all. Like, I go to the first races in Italy. It was in Faenza, right? It was the race there was Faenza, Italy. That was the first Grand Prix 125. And I was like, okay, I'm feeling it. I was fourth. I'm going into this championship like I think I can do pretty good. And someone comes up to me and says, "There's another American here." I'm like, "Who?" This guy called Trampas Parker. I'm like, "Who's Trampas Parker?" I never in my life heard of that guy's name. And it wasn't until like after the first practice, or even the second practice, where he was like P1. I'm like, that's Chad Parker. Oh, they call him Trampas. So I ended up walking my way over there just to say hello to him or whatever. But he was he was really kind of secluded. He didn't want to talk to anyone. He was like all just spoke Italian already at that, the first races he was over there. Because he had come over the year before. He lost his ride in amateur stuff, and they came, an Italian team brought him over just to do the Italian championship. He didn't do any worlds, but just did Italian championships.
Okay.
And it just killed him. But no, you didn't read about it, didn't know about it, and then he just shows up that next year with a good bike, same bike as mine, and just killed everybody.
So were you guys kind of grew up racing amateur stuff over here together?
No, because if I'm not mistaken, he was a little bit younger. He was more of a late bloomer to where he didn't really
do great early.
He wasn't like killing it in the 80s or anything like that. He wasn't really did well until he got on the bigger bike.
And so what the hell is Trampas?
I have no idea.
Oh, you still don't know?
I think was just his Christian name, right? It was just that was the name he has in his passport or whatever.
Okay.
And so that's what they started calling him.
But he was Chad over here to people.
Yeah.
That's funny. Well, he obviously was fast.
Very fast. And such a guy that was just like, you had no, like, okay, he got lucky. It's in Italy. It's his first grade, and then he would go to the next race, and then bang, he'd just kill it again. And that year it was him. It was the four of us, but it was kind of like Alex Puzar and Trampas Parker were 1-2, and they were battling. And there was Mike Healy and me battling too. So it's almost like we had two separate races, We could never really compete unless those guys had bad starts or whatever, but it was always like it was us four. We were always standout, but I remember that year being those two guys were kind of a leg ahead.
Wow.
For sure.
Were you and Healy hanging out in buddies or no?
Yeah, we were complete opposites, right?
Yeah.
Because at the time I had already, I gave my life to the Christ in 1990 or 89 while I was living by myself in Austria.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, completely changed the way of my outlook on life, on the way I was doing things, talking, whatever. It was a complete change for the better.
How did you come to know God there?
So again, going back to 87, staying at Scott Sepkovic's house. His dad was a pastor. And he comes up to me and kind of corners me in the one side at night. He's like, Bob, do you know Jesus? I'm like, this is creepy. I'm like, okay. I'm like, yeah, I know God. Yeah, no, he's like, no, do you know Jesus? And he's like, I'm like, yeah, I grew up in a Christian home and I went to church until I was probably 6 because we did the Sunday schools and stuff. And then I started racing and I didn't really have any church, right?
Yeah.
So it was like he gave me this little teeny starter Bible. He's like, Bob, just read this. I'm like, okay. And I literally went from there, and it was a few weeks later just reading this and breaking down, getting on my knees and giving my life to Christ in a one-bedroom apartment.
By yourself?
By myself. I had no phone, had no TV. I had a stereo. That was it. So it was kind of, the whole thing for me, and especially going back to Europe, it's one of those things where I had such a life-changing experience by doing that. And being alone for so long, like if you go on a hike or whatever and, you're away for 4 hours and you're like just by yourself, right? Just try that one time if you can do it. And it's like no phones, no nothing. And just let your body think and just think about things and stuff. That's what I did for years. Like I literally, that's the way I was the whole time until I went to the races. I'm like, I get to speak with someone. I get to speak the same language and stuff. Yeah. So it was that, that was such a life-changing experience for me that, again, going back to the Mike Healy, that's right when he started getting some tattoos. And he was the party California crazy kid that everyone loved. And I was this other guy, right? I was somebody different.
He had already been fired from Suzuki for doing the Mohawk, right?
Probably something crazy.
They said, because I think he dyed it red or something, and they're like, no, you can't have this Mohawk. And he showed up, or maybe he had a Mohawk, and they said, you got to get rid of this. And he showed up the next weekend with it dyed red. Yeah. And they're like, you're done. They wouldn't unload his bike.
Yeah.
So then he came to Europe.
And they loved him over there. Again, he was such a fan favorite. I mean, he would launch off the jumps, and the people would just love him. He was just, and I became, I was friends with him up until the day, he unfortunately passed. But it's, he was such a different character than me, right? I mean, we hung out and spoke all the time together, but it was like the stuff that he would do maybe during the week or weekend, it was not what I was into.
It's interesting you talk about that, just being alone. It seems like a lost art. Being alone for a whole year is a lot, but just
12. No, I had my wife at the latter end. But
with
whatever.
Phones, nobody, ask somebody, hey, just go sit and with your thoughts for an hour or two.
Go on a hike for an hour and a half and leave your phone in the truck. And just walk.
Yeah.
And look around and see things and hear things and
be alone with your thoughts in your head.
Yeah. And that's, I don't know. I get such a, I still now will go when it gets cooler here. I'm looking forward to start hiking again because I love to hike in the desert and stuff. But it's just such a peaceful, frame of mind that you can get yourself into. And sometimes I'll have my phone with me, but phone will be with music on, right? Just kind of just some.
Yeah.
That's it.
I don't think people can do that, or go have a meal by yourself. That is so awkward for people.
Well, and over here, you just would never even think about it, right? I mean, it's tough for even people listening to this or watching this would be like, how would someone go to another country and just be by himself and not have any communication? And it's tough because with your phone, you get a FaceTime and just talk to anyone at any time of the day, right? It's just boom. There was none of that back then, and maybe I'm dating myself.
Well, and phone calls were really expensive, so you could write a letter. Yeah. It's not real personal.
So again, one of the beauty things about KTM was I lived right where, we were talking about, and I would literally walk to the race shop every day. Right, because I was hanging out with my mechanics and talking. We'd go to lunch and goof off and whatever. And they had this phone set up in the racing department. Just it was like a little office. And I'd go in there every single day and call home.
Oh, yeah?
Call home, and I'd be on the phone for like 40 minutes to an hour, talk to my mom and dad and just friends and whatever, just checking in. Like literally, maybe not every day, but when I was there, almost at least every other day.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget, I was there one time just leaving, and I seen this one guy walking from upstairs. It looked like someone kind of professional looking, walking upstairs and coming into the room, and I left. And I guess it was one of the main accountants from upstairs. He's like, "Who's using this phone right here? Why is this phone 2,000 euros a month or whatever?" I mean, it was literally like crazy amount of money. It'd be like $50,000 a month. Like that's kind of what it would be like.
Yeah.
And the guys and the crews are like, "Well, I called home a couple times." He's like, "But Bob Moore comes in here and he gets on the phone and he calls and talks." He's like, "Oh, okay. Never mind. Just let it go." So
they never said anything?
Not even said. They just said, "Look, you're spending like an awful lot of money, but we're making pretty good money as well on the bike, so don't worry about it." So it was pretty cool.
That's funny. That's cool. They let you. They didn't hassle you about it.
Well, I had such a good, like my second family then at the time in 88, 89, and 90 was the Trunk and Pults with KTM. I literally was. I mean, I would be over at their house. I mowed their yard.
Oh, really?
They would wash my clothes. I ended up dating the daughter of KTM at the time. Yeah, I mean, she was engaged, and then we started hanging out, and we started dating. And it was crazy. I became literally a part of the family. Go over there for Sunday dinners and all kinds of. They were my second family for sure.
Were they neat people?
Unbelievable. Yeah.
Huh.
Everyone. Yeah. All of the guys. So that was a lot of fun.
You're pretty close to being part owner of KTM.
Yeah, no, it was crazy. Yeah, it was really, really cool time.
So what year did Donnie Schmidt come over?
Other than 91, I think.
Oh, he didn't come over till later. Okay.
Yeah. So he basically, did really good in the Nationals, or he ended up winning the Supercross the day or year before, right? Or something happened here. He lost his ride, and then he's like, well, let's just go to Europe. Sylvain Gabor's had a 125 team together with Stefan Everts and said, yeah, come on over and we'll put you on that. Unfortunately, between those two turkeys, they cost me some titles, but amazing riders, right? I mean, I learned so much from Donnie from a training standpoint.
He was a little bit before, I mean, I knew of him, but I didn't get to really get to know him or watch too close because it was a little before my time, but I don't know anybody that's ever said a bad word about him.
He's a good guy.
And that,
very hard worker. I lived with him in 92.
Okay.
Same house. When he won the championship, I got second, and Puzar was fourth in the championship. But that whole team was. But I never met another rider more dedicated. Meaning he would measure his food. He never touched chocolate, sugars.
Really?
I'd go training with him, and he would teach me to never let this mountain beat you, Bob. I mean, he would always outshine me in everything that from a training perspective, because he was just a machine. I kind of think that deep down, because we talked about similar stuff, that, he kind of thought his life was going to end earlier. It's
really?
Almost like I kind of think that was what motivated him so much to live each and every day to the fullest and get everything he could out of everything. And the guy was an absolute machine training. And there's no one that was more fit than him. I could compete with him on the bike, but training and fitness-wise, heads up, he was coming to the end of the moto, he was going to pass me, right? That was just a bummer. But it is what it is. And after he won those two titles, he won in 92, and then he won, or 91, and then in 92 he went to 250 and he won the title right away. 93 kind of had a so-so year. 94 was kind of his last year, and that was the year I won. And then after that he left in 95, and then, what was it, 2 years later he passed away. After. So
why do you think why do you say he thought his life would end early?
I just think that when we, again, because growing, spending every day, together with him and training and eating and being on bicycle rides and stuff. It was kind of like a cool down session. We were riding, mountain bikes, and it was just kind of things that we would chat about life and it was kind of like, I don't know if I'm going to be here that long. Kind of like that kind of
where you'd
stuff.
Almost go, what's that
I was
about?
like, wow, okay, that was odd, but
wow.
And now I think back, it's almost like, God kind of give him this direction to, like, you're going to have some stuff that is going to happen with your body that you can't. And maybe that was another reason why I kind of thought that he, from a sickness, from a mental or from a physical sickness that he was going to have, that he was like, the diet was unbelievable. Like his diet was like
100%.
100%. Everything was for fitness.
Huh.
Like I remember one year, the first year, it was like the fourth race in Austria. I beat him. I got like second or third, and he got like fifth. He was so mad that we were driving. He was so angry, and I was sitting in the front seat, and he was driving, and our wives were in the back, and he was just, I can't believe I, train all this, and, nothing's going good. And we stopped at the, gas station. I'm like, that's all right, Donnie, dude, you're riding fine. Don't worry about it. It'll come. He goes into the gas station supermarket, comes out with a Snickers bar like this big. And literally, to me, I'm thinking, this guy is getting ready to do like cocaine. It's like he's chomping on this thing. He's like, I don't care. Rah. And from after that, it was like lights out. Like I think the next 6 races he won back to back. Like he won because at that time it was the 3-moto format.
Oh, okay.
We did the 3 20-minute races, but it was crazy. Yeah, it was just that. Those are the things that I think about Donnie. Amazing individual, and Kari, his wife. I mean, we just had such a it was different. We were competing, right? And it wasn't like I was in 10th and he was winning. It was like I was winning some and he was there and we were, going for the championship.
Was there a year where you were in different classes and still living together and training together? Because that would have been more fun.
Yeah, that. I guess it was. It was the 94. He was still there, but he was kind of traveling back and forth. And because at the time 250 Grand Prix were on different weekends, different countries, we never really saw much. I mean, we would see each other at the press release, and then we saw each other a few times. It wasn't like we didn't even get to train together because, our schedules are just different.
Interesting. Okay. So 1990, still on KTM. You were second overall this year. You won 3 motos that season, and Donnie won the title, and Everts was third. So it was Donnie, then you, then Everts.
Yeah.
That had to be, looking back, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Obviously, you wanted to win, but your buddy gets the title. A Grand Prix legend in the making is behind you. Mm-hmm. You're getting some wins now. Like it seems like by this point everything's clicking. And
yeah. At that time, I kind of knew. All right, I think I can see my childhood dream someday coming true. I never gave up on it. Right. I had this ability to ride the bike where I knew once everything clicked, no one could beat me, right? I just, not to sound cocky, but I had to have that mental strength that I knew I was better than everyone. And again, I could show it certain times, but it just didn't mesh together. Yeah. So Donnie out-trained me, outrode me. There was no chance. I mean, I was close to him in 90, but not really. He won hands off. Like, Stefan was then starting to come up. He went from 15th and then got third that next year. So he was coming. You could tell as well.
And I've been in those situations where you see a guy going, okay, this dude's going to be a menace soon. Like, I better win quick. Yeah. Otherwise.
And that's what I did in 91. I'm like, I better get going because this guy called Stefan Everts, he's gnarly. He's going to
be a problem.
Because he was so smooth riding and, it was a different way to kind of defend against him or try to, beat him because he was really weird. Not weird. His racecraft was enter the corner slower, hit the corner apex and just go faster out. Like, you could come up to him like it was like I'm going to get him in the next, but as soon as he hit the apex, he was just gone. You know, you couldn't do that. Like, it was just hard. And so that was frustrating. Also, that year, I really felt that I had the chance to win in 91. Unfortunately, I dislocated my shoulder with 4 races to go in Belgium. And at that time, I was an American. Stefan Everts was Belgium, and I was the unwanted American that was there. I mean, I never got to a point where I got hit, things were hitting me, but I did see some stuff rolling in front of me, and and even Stefan got on the PA and said, "Look, let us race cordially. Don't try to take this other guy out because he's an American, whatever." Because it was getting down tight, right? I was really close, or maybe even leading. I don't know. I was close in the championship at that time. But the first moto went off, and I dislocated my shoulder.
Just tip over?
I came off a jump and landed kind of off, and it just popped out and just went straight down. And unfortunately, it did that a few years ago in Germany, but I from fitness and stuff, I never got a surgery or anything, but I got it back. It was okay. But the second time, it was sore. I ended up going out the second moto, taping the thing like crazy, and got 4th. So I salvaged it. And then fast forward to the last 3 races, I had to tape every time I got on the bike. I had to tape my shoulder. Really painful. But I made it through. I ended up going to Japan, winning the Grand Prix there. I think that was the last race of the season. And I lost the points by 7 to Stefan. So it was kind of like one of those things like, man, bummer, because that would have been a good championship to get. But, God had other plans. He was like, look, it's not your time yet. This guy is someone amazing, and he is still. But he ended up winning the championship. I got second. So I got second the last year, and then I got second that next year. And I'm like, okay, at that time, I'm like, I'm over this. I got to change something. I'm the 125. I'm going to go to 250. I can ride these things. I can ride a 250. No one even had me on the radar. All the teams were taken. I remember going to McKellar and Aldi's house and saying, Michele, I know you got your 2 factory guys. You got Donnie Schmidt. You got Alex Puzar, huge, rock star team, right? 2 factory Yamaha bikes. That was the year they came out with an aluminum chassis, crazy, sick factory bikes. I said, I don't need any of that. I don't even need any money. I said, put together a team. Give me a stock bike with some decent suspension, and I'll go show what I'm capable of doing. And that conversation that I had with him was like, he's like, wow, this kid's got, heart, and thankfully the guys from Chesterfield and because at that time they were all white Chesterfield bikes, right?
Yeah.
They said, all right, we're going to get you a mechanic. We're going to, put you in a box van. It won't be the factory truck, but we'll have you alongside us and we'll go racing. And that was it. I went to the races, and that was in 92.
That was in 92. Yeah. Okay. And you got 2 moto wins, and you were second overall.
Yeah.
Donnie won the title that year.
Yep.
On the one hand, it's like you probably blew everybody away because, like you said, you weren't on the radar at all. On the other hand, you got second again. Yeah. Were you? I mean,
I was kind of pumped with that second because it was like going to the 250 class. It was like, wow, this little guy, which I was starting to grow at the time. I was okay size at that time. Again, I was, God-given, blessed talent to ride a motorcycle. I rode really well. I was at times the fastest guy in Switzerland and some other Grand Prix tracks. I was on, right?
Yeah.
No one could touch me. So it was great that I did that. But at that year, Donnie kicked to another level that mid-season that there's no, I didn't have anything for that. He was on it.
Okay, I want to take a quick break here. This is going to be our Troy Designs timeout, guys. Stick around. We're going to wrap up here. We got a lot more good stuff coming with Bob Moore. Stay tuned.
In the motocross graphics game, customization is key. TBD MX can bring any of your design concepts to life. Simply fill out a design request and they will email you a concept for approval. TBD MX also has a showroom full of designs to choose from on their site. Whether you just want number plate backgrounds or a fully custom kit, the TBD MX Crew has you covered. Visit tbdmx.com today and get the look you want.
There is a reason every AMA championship in the past decade was won on Dunlop tires. They are the best. Choose the best performing tire and a brand that has never wavered in their support of our sport. Choose Dunlop. Pro Circuit. Pro Circuit products are designed with one goal in mind: winning. Through passion and hard work, Pro Circuit has operated the most successful 250 team in the history of the sport. They use that same formula when developing exhaust, engine, and suspension parts for every brand. When only the highest level of performance is acceptable, trust Pro Circuit.
At Seat Concepts, our handcrafted seats are made in America. Visit us online or call today. Seat Concepts. Ride the world with us.
Something from nothing. That's what Nihilo Concepts is about. It starts with a spark, an idea, a concept, which leads to a design, and finishes with engineered excellence with the highest quality products created with durability in mind. All our products are made in the USA at our state-of-the-art facility in Stuart, Florida. Whether you are a weekend warrior, ride for fun, or at the highest level of competition, Nihilo Concepts offers innovative titanium, aluminum, and carbon fiber parts for your dirt bike. We offer a wide variety of products that you can customize to your liking. Browse our site for foot pegs, brake tips, engine components, specialty tools, frame grip tape, lever grips, carbon fiber components, motor stands, our secondary on-switch, plus much more. Head to NihiloConcepts.com and see for yourself why factory teams like Red Bull KTM, Rockstar Husqvarna, Troy Lee Designs Gas, Orange Brigade, Club MX, KLM Gas, and some of the fastest riders in the world choose Nihilo Concepts.
The inspiration for Element, interestingly, was from working with my coaches. I sat down with those guys. I'm like, hey, here's what I'm doing. What should I do? And they looked at everything and they were like, you need more electrolytes, specifically sodium. And like most people do when they have a coach, I ignored what their advice was. You're kind of like, well, I salt my food, I'm probably good. And it took me at least a year to finally listen to these guys and do what they asked me to do. And it was just a switch flip. It was just so obvious that this was the critical missing piece to the story. And it's ironic that this salt piece was like the linchpin, the keystone to making all the rest of that work.
Arc levers are the most durable and reliable on the market. They have the most premier class championships of any aftermarket lever. Arc is the only ratio adjustable folding lever on the planet, and their patented design is precision machined in-house right here in the USA. The occasional tip over on the bike is inevitable. Broken levers? Those are optional. Visit arclevers.com today. Toyota has become synonymous with reliability, and for good reason. Toyota vehicles are consistently rated #1 by Consumer Reports and in customer satisfaction. Partner that with a dealership that wholeheartedly supports the motocross community, and it's crystal clear where you should buy your next car or truck, Toyota of Redlands. As a major partner of the BarX Yamaha racing team, as well as personal sponsor of many factory racers and a premier partner of the Whiskey Throttle Show, Toyota of Redlands is heavily invested in moto. Check out all the new and used Tundras, Tacomas, and other vehicles at Toyota of Redlands today. Reliability, performance, and customer service. Get it all at Toyota of Redlands. Need to replace something on your bike that's worn out? Look no further than Pro-X. These guys aim to make everything OEM quality or better at an affordable price. And they've also got some new products coming. So right now, chains, sprockets, anything inside the engine internally, air filters. If it wears out, Pro-X makes it, and they make it at a quality level that's OEM or better. And they've got some new things coming that are awesome. a complete engine rebuild kits for the Polaris RZR 800s. Need to replace something on your bike that's worn out? Look no further than ProX. These guys aim to make everything OEM quality or better at an affordable price. And they've also got some new products coming. So right now, chains, sprockets, anything inside the engine internally, air filters. If it wears out, ProX makes it, and they make it at a quality level that's OEM or better. And they've got some new things coming that are awesome.
The Specialized Science Club introduces the Levo 4. An electric mountain bike so advanced, it borders on sorcery. Together, you and the Levo 4 become a harmonious hybrid of organic and synthetic. It's a rider-enhancing machine that transforms you into a cycling cyborg. 720 watts of power and 111 Newton meters of torque, amplifying your mortal muscles, allowing you to bend space and time to your will. All channeled through futuristic suspension, with honed geometry, granting super control while traversing extreme terrain at hyper speed. With supernatural power delivery, you'll have super traction to conquer climbs where others spin out. And you'll tire, if at all, before the bike does, thanks to the Levo 4's super range.
Every good podcast show has got to have an underwear sponsor, right? Well, we went right to the top, Ethica. These guys make the best underwear. If you haven't tried a pair, you don't know what you're missing. Your life hasn't even started yet. So try a pair of Ethicas on. Go to Ethica.com. Use our code WHISKEY20. Get you 20% off. And give all of your nether regions a break, man. It's vacation time for the boys. These things are comfortable. You're riding. Your butt's not going to get all chafed. These things are awesome. And guess what? They don't just make underwear. No. Tees, hats, beanies, sweatshirts, shorts for kids, ladies, toddlers, old people, everybody. You name it. They make them. You know what else they make? Moto gloves. I didn't even know that. I just found it out. So get over to Ethica.com. Check them out. These guys are awesome. Whiskey20. Use our code. Don't cheat me now. Get 20% off and put your buns in the best undies around. Ethica.com. All right, welcome back. That was your Troy Lee Designs timeout, guys. If you haven't been over to TroyLeeDesigns.com, go look at all their new moto gear, all of their summer stuff. Fall stuff is out. Paint department's up and running. If you need mountain bike gear, they got it. Troy Lee Designs, blending speed, style, and art and all that. So I love those guys. Bob, getting back into this, we kind of glossed over 91, and I want to just skip back to that real quick. You were still with KTM, 5 wins that season. You were second overall again. Everett's won, and Pedro Tractor was third. You kind of saw it, like you could see Everett's coming, and now he gets this win this year. Where was your head at that point? Was that kind of like the frustration point where you're like, man, I'm just going to go try the 250 class? Or
Yeah, it was kind of a couple of things. One is I really felt that was my year to win, and if I didn't, maybe have, it was one of those woulda, coulda, shouldas, but if I didn't have my dislocated shoulder in Belgium, that, maybe I wouldn't have lost the championship by 7 points.
Yeah.
But anyways, I was frustrated, and I'm like, I wanted a new challenge, and I'm like, I can ride a 250, and Stefan was going up, Donnie was already there, and so I'm like, that's where all the big boys were, because the 500 class at the time was like
starting to
really go down. Like there was hardly anyone over there.
Yeah.
And it was like everyone was in 250.
Okay.
So I'm like, let's go compete with the big guys, like to see if I could do that.
And then that year you were competing against Donnie again. Were you guys living together still?
So that year I went from living in Brescia, Italy, when I went and moved to Italy in 91 to be with the Ferrioli KTM team, and then I moved over to Rinaldi. That was when I literally drove from my house in Brescia to go visit Michele Rinaldi at his house. I said, can you give me a shot? Give me a stock bike, give me some suspension and mechanic, and you don't even have to pay me. Pay me bonus monies if you can. And that was the whole thing. It was like that's how I got into the 250 side.
And so how did that pay out? Were you really on mostly stock stuff, or
it was 100% a stock bike? Yeah.
So Donnie's bike was like totally
Donnie's
works.
bike was the full-on. Him and Puzar's was the aluminum frame, crazy, swing arm, and like those bikes were full-on. Like that was a factory bike.
Yeah.
My bike was stock with suspension. I mean, again, 250 is 250, right? I didn't need a fast bike. I was light. Yeah. You don't need that much power. Actually, I preferred it more usable than just something that was a rocket. So power was never an issue anyways in a 250 class. And so just everything was built on suspension and just a good chassis. And the Yamaha chassis was a good chassis.
Yeah, they were good that year. Yeah. So okay, end of that season, tell me about the conversations happening, because I would imagine they would be like, hey, wow, I mean, what could you do on a factory bike, if you're doing this well?
So you're going into
going into 93, at the end of 92.
So unfortunately, at that time, Donnie had, during the summer months, Donnie was looking to be the world champion, right? Because he already had a big points lead. I was the guy that kind of was in second and third and whatever battling. And Puzar, their Italian, hopeful God, image, was their main guy, right? Everyone loved Puzar, right? He was just this flamboyant guy that was crazy and really super aggressive riding. And so even though on paper maybe I kind of would merit the fact to get the factory ride, Michele said,
got the world champion,
the
local hero,
and the guy that's my Italian guy that's getting all the sponsors and everything else. So I can maybe do the same thing, but not really. And so I said, okay, I understand. I'm like, I get it.
Were you getting offers from other teams?
So basically there was two real good teams, and the other one was where Stefan was, and that was with the Silva and Gabors, so the Suzuki factory team.
Okay.
And so obviously, being that I got second, beat everybody else, even Stefan and all those other guys. So I'm like, I was the guy in line. So Sylvan calls me up and said, I want you to be factory Suzuki rider. And I'm like, all right, since the Yamaha thing's not panning out, I think I can go for this title, and let's do it. So I then shipped up, and went and moved from Italy up to Belgium.
And was this, I mean, now you've bounced around to 4 or 5 different locations, which like here, if you switch teams, you don't really have to move.
Yeah.
There, it's kind of necessary just because the home base of those teams is in different places. Was that tough on you? Was that
at that time? So at 92, I was already there for a good 7 years. So I was starting to get a hang of where to go, what to do, what not to do, all that other stuff. So I was kind of getting a little bit better. And when you're performing well on the track, obviously it makes it better too, right? So it's easier. I kind of knew, living up in Belgium, they got English TV. They've got, everyone speaks English. A bunch of sand tracks, which I wasn't super pumped with, but I'm like, whatever, it'll be good for training, right? Yeah. And I learned a lot. Like I moved up there, 93, got married, my beautiful wife, in the.
How did you guys meet?
So we met, had a Monday night football at El Torito.
No way.
Yeah, and up in
just random.
Yeah, random. It was we were coming back from. I was coming back from riding. Me and a buddy were riding up in Castaic, and we stopped at the one that close to Magic Mountain. It's like in Santa Clarita. And I walk in, and my buddy knew her friend or whatever. They started chatting and whatever. Long story short, that was, at the time I was just turned 21.
Okay.
And my life was motorcycles, right? I wasn't about anything other than, God and my bike, and that was it. And so it was pretty rough, right? The first 3 years we just had a long distance relationship. I invited her over a couple of times to see what my life was about, living in Austria and traveling to a few races, and we fortunately kept in contact, and And then, she's 3 years older than me, right? So she's like, hey, what's going on? And I'm like, man, I don't know about this marriage thing. I've got a lot of racing to do still. I wanted to do that after. But, that wasn't the plan. And in 92, I ended up getting engaged to her.
Okay.
And then we got married in 93.
Okay.
So,
and then she
moved over. So when we got engaged, I'm like, okay, she was working. And I said, no, I want you to come over with me and stay in Europe with me and do all the races and stuff like that. And that's when she moved over there, and she was with me and with Donnie and his wife at the time.
Gotcha.
So we lived in the same place. So yeah, that was that time. So that was going into 93. She was kind of pumped because, it was easier for her to go from Italy. She didn't speak Italian. I did at the time.
Are you fluent still?
I can still speak Italian. Not fluent, but I can get by. Yeah. I just got back from there last week.
You just end it with a vowel. Everything with a vowel.
Yeah. You could figure it out. It's funny. I don't speak that many words. I'm not like crazy, but when I can speak with like I'm at a restaurant or getting gas or whatever, people think that I'm Italian.
You blow people's minds at Olive Garden.
They don't even know. No, okay. Olive Garden is not the place for Italian. No. Yeah.
That's funny. We just did the Ducati launch, and we were at Faenza.
Okay.
Which I'd never been to, and it's owned by a MotoGP guy.
Yeah. Well, he took over from it was owned by the kind of local government there, and he basically partnered with them. Andrea Dovizioso.
That's what I couldn't remember.
He's one of the riders that I managed.
Really?
Back in the day, yeah. So
it's beautiful. I don't know what it looked like back in your day. It looks like a park.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. It's really, really nice.
But a kind of a sketchy track for a Grand Prix. Like that hill, hills are.
That downhill is no joke. Like, it's like you're moving.
Yeah, that was interesting. Okay, so take me through 93. You were 11th overall. Did you miss some motos?
No, I wadded myself up twice. So I ended up breaking. One of my probably worst injuries that year was at Fox Hill. I won the year before in 92, so I liked the track. And I got a bad start. I think it was in the first moto, and they had kind of like this uphill, and it was like a little bump and then a top, but it was really peaky, right? You had to kind of land, and I just pinned it and thought I could just clear the whole thing, and but then you're like, I was 30 feet in the air, rolling the windows up, just doing one of these things. I hope it doesn't hurt that bad. And I just landed, and I did one of those, they call it a parachute break, where the pivot bone in between your ankle and your leg, all the bone it just shattered, and then I hyperextended my knee as well. So that was it. I missed 6 or something Grand Prix. It just the whole year wasn't even really going well. Again, I was arguably up against one of the all-time world champion record holder, right?
Yeah.
Stefan Evers. And that guy he was tall, lanky. He could get on a 2x4 and ride it, right?
Yeah.
It didn't. And so they were like, well, Stefan rides this bike. I'm like, I can't ride like that. I'm like, I need something with a good, easy. Most of it was not suspension, it was power. Like they gave me this bike that was just so hard to ride. It was fast, but that was less than 1% of the time that I needed it. So it just never really gelled well, and I just didn't. I was the fittest as well that year, probably of my entire life, because they had a triathlon trainer that was a part of our training. Okay. So it was a 5 a.m. getting up and swimming for over an hour in a pool, and then going and running, and my fat was nothing, but I was slow. Like I really learned a lot that how important it is the rest and putting stuff back in your body. And it's not just flat out, go out and crank it out. Because I could go kill it on a bicycle and run and swim. Like I could do a triathlon, but I just couldn't ride a bike. It just wouldn't, nothing meshed well.
Yeah.
Nothing meshed well.
And each person's different too, right?
Yeah.
Your metabolism, the way your makeup is different than the next guy. And
Yep.
This is still pretty early, like these days, I don't know what it looks like in Europe, but here, everyone has a trainer or team trainers. There's all kinds of people to help you, because consume information about how to train, how to eat, how to recover, all of it.
I
Back
saw
then there was.
Yeah, well, it started basically in the early 90s. I remember 1990. It was Stefan had a guy coming with him, and he was training him, and then that very next year when he won the championship, like he was just a machine. Like he had a guy who was, measuring stuff, and then just had a guy all the time with him training, doing fitness and supplements and all that kind of stuff. So he literally changed from one year to the other, and I'm like, something's up there. I'm like, I know that was really when I started thinking, like, this training thing, I gotta step it up, because I can't really rely on my riding ability to beat this stuff, because it won't work.
You still won 2 motos that year, so it wasn't like your speed was off. And Albie won that title. Was that on a Honda? He was the Honda team that year?
Yep.
Yeah.
Number 67. Yeah. Super fast.
Did you know him very well?
I did. I just, again, because he spoke English, super friendly guy. I met him, we'd chat and stuff like that. He was young. He was just coming into that. I'd already been there for quite a bit of time, so it was cool. I mean, he's a super good guy. Yeah. Still chat with him today, so it's pretty cool.
He had a big part in my coming to faith, so I've always got a soft spot for him.
Yeah,
love that guy. This is kind of when I talked about you being this ghost. This was about the time I was turning pro in '93. And we would always ride at the Scottsdale Waterhole. I think it's still there. I think people still ride there.
The best ever place on earth is there.
So it's literally like a big bowl that they would fill with water for cattle to graze. That's how it got there. But we cut motocross tracks in all around it. Not legal technically, but I remember I'd go out there after a rain, and I would see this Grand Prix track just cut into the desert, and I'm like, who did this? Oh, Bobby Moore, he was in town. He cutted it.
I love that, going out there,
and
especially after a rain.
We'd be so excited to ride your tracks when we'd see them, here and there. So
because they had technical pieces, some jumps, some little double things, but it was more technical, right? It was. Yeah, you
would like drop into a wash and have this rut that came out of it, and yeah, it was. It wasn't wide open.
Yeah.
Pin it. It was very technical stuff.
Yep.
Anyway, very, very. That was kind of the first.
But I remember riding with you. It wasn't at the Waterhole, though. It was more over, I can't remember. It was further, maybe a little bit more, would have been west, kind of up against this hill. And I remember you coming out. I had already started riding, but you had already were pro then, and you started riding. I just can't, what year was it? I was still on the KTM, I think. No, what year would that have been? Because I came out even up until '94. I was still coming over here to Arizona and doing some practicing and stuff like that. It might have been actually '94.
'94, okay.
Were you riding?
I was pro that year. I was Suzuki support kid, yeah.
So it might have been '94.
Okay.
Then I was riding Yamaha.
Was that at the dam where that dam was?
I think so.
Okay. That was a pretty cool spot too, actually.
I just remember it was you. Because I knew all about, your racing coming up through. Because again, even though I was this ghost or whatever, I followed everything, right? Motocross is my life. And I followed all the good young amateur kids coming up and who's the next guy and all that. And that was, it was always kind of earmarked as being you're one of those guys to come up through. So I was already practiced on the track, so I kind of knew my lines. But I'm like, I want to go see what this guy's got. And it was funny because I was riding with you, but you were good. It was fun.
Really?
Yeah,
oh,
it was fun.
Well, our paths cross again, so we'll get there. Was there ever a point, this? So you still haven't hit your championship year yet. We're up against it, but by the end of '93, now you've got a couple of bad injuries. Mm-hmm. I mean, those don't sound like simple.
And again, going back to my professional career, I broke a bone every single year I was professional. The year I won my title, I didn't get injured until December, so it was after the championship. It was at the Bologna Motor Show, unfortunately.
You hate to break a streak.
It was crazy. So yes, the injuries did hinder my career.
Was there ever a point in this where you're like, it's not going to happen? What am I doing? Did you ever get frustrated and consider heading home?
Honestly, I just had this given driven mentality that I was going to succeed no matter what. And so it didn't go to that point, but it's so frustrating because, again, those then latter part when I was competing and I was a top 3 or 4 guy, top 2 guy even, your fitness, everything's just clicking, right? You're going to races and you're just competitive and boom, 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 and then crash, injury. And then you've been through it, right? You get to this fitness level of just literally within 10 days of sitting on the couch, you are done. There's no slowly getting worse. It's like, bam.
I know.
And then when you start back up, you're like, really? I can't even do 10-minute motos now. And so that was the frustrating thing for me.
Well, and it's not just fitness. You're a tub of goo after a month of healing from something, but your confidence, all of that stuff is a build. And it's like, that old expression, stacking pennies, and you get this tower of pennies and you're like, yeah, I'm going to do it. And then whoosh, it's to the ground. I think I had one season of 10 in my professional career where I didn't get hurt. And so same kind of thing. It's like, okay, I'm starting over again. Let's go. And meanwhile, if you look at the greats of the sport, including Stefan, they didn't have a lot of injuries.
Yeah.
And so they can, look at Dungey. My gosh.
Yeah.
Until his very end of his career with his neck, I don't know that he ever got hurt.
Yeah.
And it's like,
you have to have that for sure.
How just imagine how your confidence and fitness and everything would be.
And
if
it wasn't that they didn't crash, because everyone crashes, right? So it's almost, I don't know if it's just a bone thing or what, but it's these guys, the greats, I always saw and watched Carmichael. That guy was like a tree trunk. You could throw him out of the freeway and let him bounce around and boom, 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 and he'd bounce back up and run over on his bike. He was just built but that took a while for him to get to that level. But it's just, that's what makes those guys so good, is that, again, you're going to crash. It's just part of racing. It's just part of riding. Most of the time it's when you're practicing, right? It's not even when you're racing. The injuries are terrible.
And I always think, well, maybe it's just guys that are not technically as good, but then you look at like a Ben Townley. To me, so technically proficient, perfect, but,
injury.
He couldn't stay healthy. Same kind of thing, It's like, what is it? Is it just genetics? Do these guys figure out how to crash and tumble right, or?
No, I think it's genetics a little bit to it. And again, you have to prepare your body. Again, that's why these days, even if it's MotoGP, Moto2, Moto3, or Supercross, Motocross, you have to have your body in tune. You have to eat the right things. You have to prepare your right things. You're stretching. Everything is a complete package, because if you have one of those things off, you're not going to be successful.
Well, and even like a Tomac, he's all of those things. He still tore an Achilles without even crashing, broke his tibia without even crashing. There's a lot of force.
Yep.
It's got to go somewhere. Okay, so take us into 94. This is your championship season.
Yep.
You went back down to the 125 class. Talk about that, first of all.
So, again, the relationship with Michele Rinaldi never really went any, it was a good leave. I left the team on good merit. And I said, hey, Michele, maybe one year I'll come back, as I was leaving, I'll come back and win a championship for you. And at the time, I didn't even really think about that, but, he was then building this 125 program to come race in 125s. I wasn't really having a great year that year with Suzuki, and I basically said, all right, well, I want to win just championship. And I know from an ability standpoint at that time, it was kind of my, I was getting close to my pinnacle of racing. I think everyone's got that 5 to 7 year of just being bam, 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 right there. And
how old would you have been in 94?
Would have been 25, 26.
Yeah, so perfect window.
Perfect, yeah. Maybe a little bit older than most, especially
these days. But you got the experience, but you're
Yeah.
still in your prime fitness-wise.
So that was kind of, everything just fell into place. I called Michele, and he's like, Bob, I probably can't offer you crazy money, but I can offer you a deal, and we can race 125. I'm going to do a separate team. and we're going to have 2 mechanics with you to cruise at all the races. And I'm like, cool, sign me up. I'll do it. That time.
Who did he have on the 250 at the time then?
It was Donnie Schmidt and Puzar, I think.
Oh, still the same 2 guys.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And
Did you have a teammate on the 125?
Nope.
Just you?
Just me. It was just, I was the only guy. So it was pretty wild.
And this would have been, the YZ125, just stock that year, was good. Was really good.
Was a good chassis, good handling bike, but slow.
Was it slow? Okay. I know by 95 they were quick, or at least the factory bikes here were, because Wyndham was on that thing, and he was
Well,
a
again,
rocket.
and I don't want to take credit. This was a lot of the team built around the Rinaldi, R&D department, because they didn't have anything from Japan. It was all over in Italy. They built all this stuff, and they were building and giving me parts all through the season. That I my championship year. I had just an amazing year. I won more than half of the races that I showed up at. It was just one of those things where everything was really easy, right? Everything flowed. The bike was the best handling bike ever that I had that year. I mean, I could hit any bump out there, any bump, and it just was solid through the ruts. I mean, it was just a good. Wasn't super fast, but it was good. I had my little FMF pipe on there that I had a deal with Donnie. That I said, pay me some money, I'll put a sticker on my my butt patch, I'll wear an FMF logo. And he's like, all right, use my pipes. I'm like, yep. So I used this pipes, and so
you won 11 motos. I mean, you were pretty dominant.
Yeah.
Coyote was second, I want to say, and Tractor third.
Yeah.
And were you in I remember you and Coyote being buddies.
Yeah, not that much that year, because actually when I then moved teams, he actually came and took that ride from me.
Oh, okay.
After that.
Okay.
But yeah, it was one of those things where it was weird. It was just easy, right? I don't sound like cocky or anything, but it was just like I showed up to the races. I felt good. The bike was working well. Was
just a culmination of all those years of building.
Exactly. And just boom, and just everything just was
so
smooth.
What was what round did you wrap it up? At the final round or one before?
It was, kind of the one before, because I won both motos there, and I had like over a 32-point lead going into the last round. So basically all I needed to get was 7 points at the last race.
Okay.
But it was...
So how was that last round when you got... I mean, talk about a, lifelong dream, right? This has been 10 years?
Yeah. It was 9 years for me to win to the championship of racing over there.
Did your dad come over?
He was there.
Yeah.
So that, again, it was surreal. It was, I remember the week before, we had a weekend off, and then that week before, just riding, all I did for the most part was just practice starts. I know this sounds funny, but I'm like, if I get anything decent of a start, I've got this. Like, I could just ride around at that time,
And you don't want to get hurt.
I don't want to get hurt. So I did some training and stuff, but it was pretty chill. And then I was sitting on the line. I'm like, just start. That's all I had. And I got the most perfect start. I remember looking both sides and just having like a bike length and just going into the first corner. And I'm like, I'm going to go as fast as I can. I don't even think I breathed that race. I was like just wide open. Everyone was going like this. I had like a 15-second lead. I'm like, I just want this race done. I don't want to slow down and get a flat tire or anything, all these crazy things. I just said, focus, hit your marks, do your deal, and bring it home. And then, so it was an amazing race. I come across.
Did you win the moto?
Yeah, I won the moto by a long ways, and came, across the finish line. And, as they don't really do it, I get ticked every time I see a guy win the championship over here. Knowing what I experienced, okay, maybe it's because it was so long to get it, but to see a wall of people across, you can't even see any dirt. It's just people across on the other side of the finish line, and you ride up, and there's champagne and water and people grabbing you and trying to and lifting you up and throwing you in the air. You're world champion. And that's the first moto. There was riders that were trying to get by that couldn't even get by because it was so cool.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it was amazing.
Europe just does better with that kind of stuff. Yeah. It's the same in soccer or whatever. Like,
they're just passionate.
They're just more passionate.
They are just passionate about it.
and here probably it's more litigious, more liability is the problem. But I've seen videos like,
I got a bone to pick with Jet and Hunter Lawrence, man. They just win everything, and it's like you see them and they're like, yeah, okay, let's go home. I'm like, gosh, like you guys are flipping amazing, killing everybody.
Yeah.
And it's like you celebrate like you got the last quart of milk at the store, or something.
Well,
comparing it to
Yeah. And I've seen, I don't know if I saw pictures of you, but I've seen pictures of guys win, coming across and winning, and it's like a pandemonium, just like you said, just as you described it. It's got to be, I don't know, just something.
It's a lifelong dream, right? I mean, I was blessed to experience it. It's like it was a huge weight off my shoulders after that. The second moto I went out, I'm like, I was even late getting to the gate. The guy like, do you even want to race the next race? You already won. I'm like, yeah, I'll race. I'm like, whatever. And I was like already exhausted. I get my gear on and roll down. And I won the second moto too.
Did you?
So I was just like, okay, this is cool. I'll win this one. But yeah, And after that, then it's like a world champion, right? You got one dinner to another function. It's literally like a month goes on. You're never not celebrating it.
Really?
I went to the ELF headquarters up in Paris, to get this gold plaque together with Mick Doohan because he won the 500 championship at that time. Then I was shipped over to Japan with Yamaha to the Formula One race because they were supplying Yamaha engines to the Tyrrell, Formula One team. So they set me in the Formula One. I mean, it's just, you're like this movie star guy that just does all this stuff. It's crazy when you become a champion like that.
How cool. So tell me about the next year then. You went back to the 250 class. Was this
so
like
obviously McKaylee was like, all right, let's do this in the 250 class. Obviously easy. I signed even a month before the end of the 125 even ended, so I knew I was going in the 250 with him, and it was with a clear intention to go win the championship. And it ended, unfortunately, way too early. I came over in 94 because I got paid a lot of money to do the Bologna Motor Show as a Supercross race. And it was in practice, and they were pushing hay bales across the whoops, where certain lines would get. And so I was literally started, and this one guy changed and put this hay bale right in front of me, so I had to slow down, and I got off balance, and I put my foot down like this, and Marnik Bevroots came with his front tire, and it basically snapped my tib fib and dislocated my ankle.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm looking, I go down on the ground, and I look at I just turned down and I looked at my ankle, and it's like this way, like in the boot, like the boot is this way, and I'm staring at the side of and my first thought was, wow, I won the world championship, and this is the way I'm going out. I thought, this is it. It was a career-ending injury. I'm like, there's no way I can come back. My foot doesn't work that way. And it was one of those things where, fortunately, I experienced the mobile medical unit for the first time that they had there. And that was one of the things that I was like really wanted to push for and get here in the States when I moved back here in 97, but whatever, long story there. But I was like, went literally within 20 minutes, they took my boot off, they took x-rays, they shot me with a lot of painkillers, reset my ankle, and put me in like a little boot cast, and I was walking out. And I'm like, that is amazing, because when I dislocated my shoulder a few years ago, I was at a race. It took 3 hours. My thing was down here. I was in pain like crazy, and it's just a time thing, to get stuff done right there at the track was just so nice. But still, that was in December, mid-December, right? So the season started in March. I was on the couch until mid-June, January, not even riding. I got 3 weeks to race, or it's 3 weeks to get kind of ready to go and race 250 Grand Prix. It just didn't start out well, and I had no conditioning. Again, the speed was there at certain rounds. I ended up winning, I think, the last race of the year.
3 moto wins.
Yeah. But it just didn't mesh, right? I was like, Yeah. And unfortunately, Michele needed champions, right? And he's like, I'm looking at Bob. He's like, yeah, you're washed up. We're going to get somebody else. I'm like, okay, whatever. And so I ended up going to another Yamaha team and riding it back and going back to the 125 class. For 95.
Okay. For 96, you mean?
Sorry, 96. Yeah, you're right.
And then that season didn't go great either, huh?
Got injured 2 weeks before the first Grand Prix. Broke my hand here, training in the sand. So I didn't show up for the first 3 races. Again, was coming back, won a few rounds. And that was kind of it. 96 and 97, I actually, I was fast enough to win. 97, I won my last Grand Prix in Spain, and I broke my elbow. During the race, the second moto, I broke my elbow.
Jeez.
And I finished the race, but I remember on this going back, going up to the podium, I'm like, I told the mechanic, I'm like, I broke my elbow. I'm not gonna. This is gonna be painful. And so that was it. I'm like, so that was one of those things where we were talking about these injuries before, right? You get to a point like, man, if I could just get through, and I think I was either leading the championship in 97 or right there. I was battling with Kiko Coyote at the time.
Okay.
So I was fine, speed-wise, bike-wise, crew, everything was good. I got injured again. And at that time, I'm like, okay, great. This is April, May. I have to salvage, try to come back and get prepared and go race and do this whole thing. I, at the time, just had my first child as well, with my wife living over there. So there was a matter of time where I was like, okay, I'm getting ready to think about, but I wasn't really ready to pull the plug, because I always told myself that when you get to a point where you're not competing for a championship, then give somebody else the chance. Don't be the guy that's just out there riding in 5th and 8th and collecting a paycheck, because that just wasn't my way I wanted to do it. So I put everything in and tried to win the championship in 97, just didn't work because I got injured. And then towards the later part of that year, I again was staying in contact with FMF, with Don Amler and Danny Laporte, and they were thinking about taking on this new team. They're like, and then they kind of threw it out as like, hey, why don't you come back and help us, with running the team, be the team manager. I'm like, wow, that'd be cool. I'm like, I could still win races. I still had teams wanting to pay and, do this stuff, but I'm like, this is a God-given,
it's an opportunity
for me. And I said, look, I'm going back to America one day. I'm not going to stay in Europe. I want to go back. I want to raise my family over there anyway. So I'm like, let's do this. And I came and did the Unadilla National that year in 97.
97? Okay.
Yeah, there was a big break. There was a few guys there. That was Carmichael was
Rookie
racing.
Season,
yeah. So he was killing it. But I do have a Carmichael story. Rewind to...
Hey, pull your mic up just a touch.
Okay.
There you go.
Rewind to February or January, February for the races in... You did the Prix... it wasn't... what was it? Golden? It wasn't a gold. I think it was a Golden State race or whatever. It was at the Paris Raceway.
Oh, it was the GFI Invitational.
Yeah. And I come there, on my stock Yamaha, and Carmichael rolls up in his Pro Circuit Kawasaki truck, and I knew who he was. I used to the sensation coming from amateurs and everything else. I'm like, cool, I get to race this guy, see what he's about, and fortunately for me, I won. Right, I killed him. And I was hearing stuff because my dad was over there by him, and I guess they were making comments that, oh yeah, this Euro guy is going to be here. I'm going to wax him and blah blah blah. And I don't know if it was him or his crew or somebody was saying that, but it was cool to see just a race. It was maybe more, it kind of little bit of spritzing rain in the beginning, like of the morning, and then our race was, it wasn't muddy at all, but it was cool. It was racing, and I got to race Carmichael on my last year and his first year. Yeah. But the first race I won, and the second race he cleaned me. Like he won both motos in Unadilla when I was still racing for Yamaha. but I think I got like 4th or something. Like I wasn't even anywhere in his league at that time.
Yeah, he figured things out quite quickly.
Yes,
he was
he
hard
did.
to beat. If this is, I want to ask you. This is our Seat Concepts hot seat question. You guys need anything for comfort seats for dual sport or adventure, moto, whatever they've got you over there at Seat Concepts. If you had to name a GOAT of MXGP, who is it? Is it Everts? Is there anybody that was? I mean,
Jean-Michel Bayle was the most talented rider, and I think that if he wanted to stay racing world championship, he would have been 15 time. Like he would have won everything. He was just that for me, right? I mean, I experienced. I mean, you can't go from winning 125, winning in the 250, coming to America, winning everything over here, killing it. Then let's go road race and go and actually get a pole position in a 500 Grand Prix racing.
Yeah.
That's a completely different sport.
Yeah.
That's road racing, not dirt. So, yeah, he's the GOAT for me. Obviously, the GOAT of Supercross of motocross is Carmichael over here, and Stefan Everts in World Championship.
Yeah, hard to argue with numbers, but I think Bayle just got, I don't know if he got bored or...
He did. He got bored. Full on. He was like, winning was too easy, and he wanted to try to do something different. And that's why he didn't even, when he went to road racing, he didn't even go to any of the other classes. He just went straight
to 500.
to the 500. Like, I'm not going to all this other stuff because I don't need to learn that. I'll just figure it out.
Do you know him pretty well?
I do. Yeah. He's a great guy. He's still, so he was managing one of the riders over there in KTM, and he was kind of helping coach because he's a French guy, and this guy was from France as well. Johan Zarco is his name, and he was like, I was just always chat with him because I would just hang out and talk to him more about moto and just life in general. Yeah. But he's just, he's a good guy. I think he's just he's retired. He hangs out. He'll show up at a race here or there and just
rides his bicycle a lot. I follow him on Instagram, and he's constantly out riding.
He's always doing something on the two wheels. Yeah.
I love the stories of him. When we had Stanton on the show, he tells a story of Honda Land. Mm-hmm. And they got rain, so everything's wet. He goes, the track's perfect. It had never been that good. He goes, so I'm out there, and I'm just knocking out 20-minute motos and heat races. I'm doing sprint laps. And he's like, I don't see JMB anywhere. He's out there with us, but like I haven't seen him on the track all day. And he goes, I look up, and he is carving on the side of this hill, which is all green from the rain. Mm-hmm. He's carving his initials, JMB, into the side of this hill, like massive. He goes, he was up there for 3 hours just carving his initials into the hills.
That's awesome. And just doing some jumps and like things and whatever, and then he could go out and go past Stanton if he wanted to.
He was one of a kind, man.
Yeah.
Pretty good. So end of 97, really it was the opportunity. You kind of went, this is my exit here.
I was so pumped to get that deal. Like, it was FMF Honda. I was working with a factory, but I still had really close ties with Donnie and the FMF guys, the family there. And so I'm like, I was retiring, right? So from racing, I did okay. Was never millionaire or anything like that, but I did okay. Invested well with my dad, thankfully. And so I came over, and I'm like, yeah, I'll do it.
Was that hard to close that chapter? Or were you kind of like
it was
satisfied?
A little bit because I was still fast, right?
So winning, you mean last season?
Yeah, I was still capable of doing good laps, and in a way, maybe it was kind of, I was pumped because I could still ride all the time. They gave me bikes, and she's all the way up until through 2000. I was riding motos all the time, even though I wasn't with the team anymore, but I was riding quite often. So it was just kind of perfect because I was like, yes, this gets me into Supercross and motocross. I love, the riding. I can help maybe the guys on the outdoor side, not so much at the Supercross, but I'm really good with lines, and all this other stuff was kind of the racing side of it. So Donnie's like, yeah, he's like, this doesn't pay like a motocross, but I'll give you $25,000. And, at the time I would have paid him $25,000 to work because I was just so in love of going to the races. I knew that one day after I retired racing, I just wanted to be involved in the sport.
Yeah.
and God gave me this amazing ability to have the right people at the right time to get involved in the sport. It wasn't about money. It was just about to get out to the races. But I just dove into that head first.
Well, this is where our paths intersect, because I was one of the FMF Honda riders in '98. Take me through that. I've got a couple of funny stories on my side of things, but you'd never been a team manager, so I went and did that later too, and I know how that takes some adjusting.
Yeah.
Take me through your experience as a team manager there.
I was just trying to be, my whole philosophy is there's people put in position to do their job, right? And I tried to I would never be over the shoulder of the guys and the mechanics and say, hey, you got to do this, you got to do that. I just tried to get everyone the tools that they needed to go out and succeed. Mm-hmm. And I'm super chill, as you know. I mean, I'm just somebody that doesn't like to get angry with people or shout or do any of that stuff. So I'm always just kind of low key, mellow. I always try to look at the positives, right? I always tried to look at the positives on everything. With that team, I knew where our weeks were simply in the engine department. I would go back to Donnie and say, look, I know it's expensive. We're spending a lot of money, but if we want to compete, we have to have a faster engine. We can't do this. Like, we're throwing a pipe on. It's just not cutting it. Yeah. And, that was the time where I was like getting even a little bit more vocal. Like, look, we're getting to a point where we're not going to succeed because the riders were not going to come there. Yeah, it's FMF Honda, but it's not like a Pro Circuit or, the other teams that are investing and have a better engine, right? So I stayed there for, 2 years, I think. And then, unfortunately, I got a phone call from Donnie. I was moved over. Every year I'd move the family because then at that time I had 2 young kids, 2 boys. I moved over and would stay in an apartment in Corona to be close to the test track because we'd go out testing every day and to build everything up. And then once the race season started, I'd move the family back to I was living in Scottsdale, and then I'd go fly back and forth back to all the races. So I was over there, moved all the family out there, and then Donnie calls me and says, hey, we're going to make a change. And this is like in December. We're going to bring in Hilton Beatty. He's going to be the team manager, and we're letting you go. I'm like, Donnie, I just moved my family over here. Jeez. I just put a down payment on this apartment for the next, I said, I'm at the time I was, not making much money. I made a little bit more, but I'm like, dude, you got to at least cover some of this. I'm like, that's jacked up. So I drove straight to to Donnie's shop, and I confronted Donnie. I'm like, dude, cut me something because I just, I get that you don't want me anymore. That's fine, that's cool, but whatever. Do something. And he cuts me a check, and basically my wife and I went straight to Disneyland after that, and that was it. So that was going into 2000, I think. And
how was your? I mean, I obviously was only there for 98, but I remember Mike Hooker, who was working at Honda, but had been at Pro Circuit for years, building pipes and motors. He was now at Factory Honda doing stuff for Lamson in 97, and then for us in 98. And I see him now, he still apologizes to me. Man, I'm sorry about that 98 motor. Gosh, we tried so hard with that thing. It was just really frustrating that Honda, who had this really strong history of having fast bikes in 90, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah. From Peak bikes to then Henry and Lammy. I mean, they were winning titles. Like, how in 1 year this thing couldn't pull the skin off rice pudding, to quote Rob Hendrickson. It was really slow.
It was slow. And I kept drilling them. And again, I think it just came down to a cost thing because they're like, well, you're the team manager. Go raise some more money. So, and I did that part of that's kind of where maybe my management skills kind of came in, like asking people for money has really never been something shy for me to do. So I ended up getting decent money for the team, but it was always, it's expensive to do that, to go racing. And they just had a different philosophy. And again, I was a racer at heart, right? I mean, still. Like, I mean, I think of it as a racer thinks of it. I don't think of it as a team manager or a mechanic or a data guy. I'm like, I'm a racer.
But those are the type of people that make the best team managers, because you understand what it takes to make the rider happy.
Yeah.
You know, if you can listen to them and go, this guy's full of crap, or no, this is a slow bike, you know, and you could even ride it. In fact, I tell this story quite often, actually. I don't know if you remember, we were out at Sunrise testing before the Nationals. All of us, so Scott Sheik, myself, Sellards, Danny Smith, and Jason McCormick. We had 5 guys. And we're all doing laps and lap times or whatever. You know, Sheik was pretty good outdoors. Brock was pretty good. I was actually riding well. And you got on a bike. I don't remember the circumstances. Do you remember this? You got on and went and did some laps?
I do.
And you were faster than all of us.
Yeah, I remember getting on and riding around.
And we were all like, well, all right, our team manager. And I hadn't seen you really ride much. It sounds like you were still riding, but I'm like, dude just threw gear on and went faster than all of us. Like, what the heck?
That was the motivating factor, because I heard a lot of the bike, right? But I'm like, look, yes, we have these parts that, you know, could be better, but if I'm a off the couch guy 2 years ago and I could still ride, just, again, God-given gift that I could just ride a motorcycle, you know, it was easy. Not easy, but it was like, it came natural. Yeah. And especially that was an outdoor track, right? It was more, it wasn't like Supercross triples or anything like that. It was just like, boom, go out there and ride.
Yeah.
So that was fun. I had a few of those moments with, you know, guys even the year before and riding outdoors and stuff. And that was kind of when, you know, Donnie and the FMF crew, they're like, God, Bob, you got to go do the Nationals. You got to go do the Nationals, and we're going to come up with this 909 thing. And I'm like, oh gosh, okay, whatever. I'll do a race. And then I was set to do the Glen Helen race. Was it 99? I can't remember, whatever year it was. And I was at, what was the track in Temecula? Some test track. We were out there riding, and I fell and dislocated my shoulder, or separated my shoulder. And so I was like, oh man, it was like a week before. And I'm like, I can't. I did practice, and it was fast, but I knew I was only going to be hanging on for one lap.
Was that because in '98 at Glen Helen we did the would have been the 25th anniversary of the Elsinore? Remember, we had the red pipes and the old vintage gear.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Was it cool. That year or was it the next year?
I think it was the next year, because this was like when, again, it was FMF were going to do their 909 handlebar thing, and they wanted to do this big promotion around that. And so I remember saying, all right, I'll go do Glen Helen, because I ride that track quite often. I feel pretty fast there, and I'll do it. So I was riding with the guys, and, you know, I was faster than all of the team at the time. But I'm like, okay. I crashed and I hurt my shoulder. I'm like, I can't do it. I'm not going to be able to do it. And they're like, come on, Bob, you got to do one. I'm like, I looked at the schedule. I'm like, okay, one of my favorite tracks was Mount Morris. And I said, okay, I'll do Mount Morris. So that was like the 4th race of the year. So it gave me a little bit of time. I was never like in shape or whatever to go out and be the guy. But I'm like, okay, just get me a bike that was running. And at that time we were testing this new carburetor setting or whatever it was, but we were having issues where the thing would bog on the faces of jumps.
Oh boy.
And I'm like, and it was just one of those things where I'm in the first moto, coming up through, I think I made it up to like 5th or 4th. I was riding good. Okay. I think Carmichael or whatever was in front, but I was riding well. I think I passed the last teammate, or maybe it was the time, Volan was on the team. I think he was maybe one spot ahead, but I was like, I can catch him. And over coming up on the back side where the big jumps were before the finish line.
Bradshaw Boulevard.
Yeah. I was coming up wide open, and I hit the face of the jump. The thing went, bull. And I did one of those. And I could just do a flashback of my whole career, like endoing in front of everyone at Mount Morris. Luckily I saved it, but I literally went off the track, and I'm like, I'm the team manager making like chicken feed here, and I'm putting my life on the line for this. I'm like, no, I'm not going to do this.
Yeah.
If the bike doesn't work, like I'm not going to do this. So that was it. I did the first moto, didn't even finish the first moto.
Yeah.
And then that was my, the last professional race that I
last
did.
hoorah. Well, my claim to fame with that team, I got the first podium for them. Houston Supercross, I got a second. That was the first podium they ever got. And then I did pretty well at Glen Helen. I think I was fourth in that cool retro gear, and blew my knee out the next week.
Yeah.
That was the end of it.
You were starting to. That was it. You were starting to pick everything up.
I had pennies.
Yeah.
I had pennies stacked.
You were building.
And then guess what?
Building.
Yeah. Okay, so what did you do after you left that? 90 well, it would have been 2000.
Yeah, it was 2000. I again called my buddy up from Scott Sepkovic, and I'm like, dude, like, what do I do? And he's like, you know what? Why don't you become the spy goggle rep? He's like, I can get you a job. You can get $50,000 a year doing this. I'm like, okay, whatever, I'll do it. It's something to do, right? I wanted to be at the races.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, cool. I remember going to spy. It was kind of funny because I like a year or two before, I was investing in the company, right? Because, they had a really good investing program. So I'd give them some cash and investing. So it was like, wasn't that I needed the money. It was just that I wanted to be at the races and I wanted to do something. So I show up. They're like, okay, cool. We're going to give you this money, and we want you to be, Pastrana and McGrath and all these guys our rep, go to all the races, make sure all their goggles and stuff are set up. I'm like, okay, cool, I'll do it. And I, entrenched myself into it, sent all the goggles, built everything, did the roll-offs, had everything dialed for mud races because I did all my own stuff over there. Yeah. So I had
You're very particular.
Yes,
you like things like your dad.
It was
sounds
very,
like,
very
sounds like you come by it
perfect, clean. I had everything in Ziplocs even before. Like, I made sure all my guys had everything, spares, no problem. So I think I did a good job at it. And it was about 6-7 months later into that year at Daytona. And this guy comes walking alongside me. And it was a bigger gentleman, and his name was Fred Bramblett. And he's like, hey, Bob, I've been watching you, and I've been following kind of what you're really tight with these riders and good. And he's like, I think you should become an agent, a manager. And I looked at him like, a manager, an agent for racers? He's like, yeah, they're making money. I said, yeah. I said, they are making some pretty good money. He said, have a think about, and let me know. And he gives me his card. I didn't really think anything of it. And I'm like, kind of just said, I went home and talked to my wife, and I said, hey, I got this kind of weird, unique opportunity. And he wants me to build a team, and, I'd be kind of running it. He has 2 riders. At the time, he had
Jessamine, right?
Yeah, he had, well, no, that was even, he had Jessamine, he had Ferry, and Larocco. Larocco was his main guy. And so I'm like, he's like, I'll put you in charge of doing everything. You sign the guys. It's your division, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, okay, but I want to run it like I want to run it, like the commissions and all this. I'm like, I'm not pay a bunch of, 20% commissions to these, guys because, all of this stuff is, I call it industry sponsors is what you have to have, right? When you go to a race, you're going to have a race team pay you. And if you're normally on the 450 class, you're going to have, your gear and an energy drink. I said, all those ones need to fit into a certain bucket. That's a lower percentage. And I said, as the higher that gets, the lower the percentage goes down. So I built out this whole thing. And we even threw in, and this was coming from him, Fred at the time, he said, all right, we'll guarantee our services. So if a rider signs with us and is not happy after 12 months, we'll give him all of his money back. And I said, yeah, I like that. That's something that I can get behind because I'm going to pour my heart into this thing. I want to be successful for the rider. And so that was the thing. I jumped into that, and my first rider was Shea Bentley that I went out, seeked out to try to sign him up, and he ended up winning the championship that year. Unfortunately, that was another guy that just got injured over and over and over. But that was the start of it, right?
Yeah.
I went and built a team that I really liked, the riders, and I was still going to all the races and managing. Most of the kids were in the 125 class coming up through, but that was the thing. I loved doing it. And
our paths cross again, and you steal a bunch of money from me, just like that. That's cool. So, and then you've stayed with, so you jumped to Wasserman at some point.
So I was really happy doing where I was. It was 2 years in, maybe 3. And I built up, the majority of my money was built on commissions, right? So I get commissions over a certain bubble, and then I collect, that was how it was. It wasn't a huge base fee. It was more based on commissions.
Which is great. Like, you could tell you had the rider's best interests in mind, right?
Yeah.
You weren't trying to get rich yourself and then,
And so at the time, for good or bad, Fred decided that he wanted to expand, and he was signing another guy, kind of put in to not into my place, but he brought me over to California in December, right before Christmas, and he said, for my year-end review, right, and he throws me in this office, and he's like, okay, well, what we're going to do is we're going to sign this new guy. He said, what I want you to do is, I had 14 riders at the time. He said, so those 14 riders, those are all going to stay with me, and the commissions and all that stay over here. And we want you to build another roster of riders, another 10 guys. And we're going to help you with these other guys, but you still have to manage those too. We're just not going to pay you. And I'm like, well, I was supposed to get a check for like $75,000 like this month for my commissions. And he said, yeah, no, we're not giving you that, but we'll give you another $5,000 on your salary. So I was going to go from like 40 to $45,000. And I'm like, well, let me think about that. I said, let me just go home and think about it. Instead of tipping the table over and punching him in the mouth, this is all the anger that I wanted to do, but I'm like, you can't do that. So I'm like, calmly said, I got up, I walked right out to my phone, or right out to my rental car, and I picked the phone up and I called Steve Astafan from the family at the time. And little did I know on his side, he had already had been contacted with Casey Wasserman, and they were getting ready to do an acquisition, but he wanted to grow his side of the business as well. And I just thought it was a perfect fit because they were really big in action sports. They had Pastrana, and they were really good with promoting the skateboarding, snowboarding, surf, all that stuff. Mm-hmm. And I was kind of this motocross expert, right? Because I came from the field, and I had everybody. I had most of the top guys. I had Reed, and all those guys were, Langston. Everyone was underneath my roster.
Yeah.
And so I said, well, look, I'm all these riders are managed by OMS, but the day I leave, and I told Steve, I'm like, the day I leave, all those guys are gonna go, and they're gonna most likely want to come my way because I have the personal relationship with these guys. I talk to them when they're in the hospital, or help them out with insurance and all that stuff. So I was just fully entrenched with it. So Steve said, look, I want to build a team, but I don't want you to have all those guys. I just want you to focus on maybe 5 or 6 guys. I said, I want to run the whole thing top to bottom. I don't want to have anyone being my boss. I said, here's how I'm going to run it. I'm going to run it on this tiered commission program. And if you can give me all that, I'm your guy. And literally I flew home, and within 5 days later, I came back out and signed a contract to be with him. Unfortunately, at that time, then as soon as everyone found out I was leaving, then everyone called Fred and says, ciao, I'm gone. And the big guys, at the time were like Chad and Nathan Ramsey, and, all those guys, they were all, because they wanted to come with me anyways.
They all came to you.
They were like, Bob, where are we going?
Yeah.
I said, well, this is a new route. I think it's going to be better for all of us. It'll be cool. And so they all said, all right, we're bouncing. And obviously that wasn't good for their pocketbook on the other side, for Fred's side. So he sued me. And the family, my family and everything, like, came after me like he was going to sue me, which is like, oh, dude, this is horrible. But I kind of sensed that something was going to come up. So when I did my deal with the family, I said, you got to protect me if anything comes across. Kind of the long story of this, the long and short of it is, he owed me $75,000 for getting paid.
Yeah.
Because those are all the money that he collected and should have paid me.
Yeah.
He ended up suing me. We had to go to the court. He spent $70,000 fighting and lost in the court. And, I came up to him. I know it was simply business, and I don't look at that. I take everything to heart, so it's hard for me because of being a family man. I kind of really looked at Fred as, he's one of the best agents that I've ever learned from. Amazing guy. I get what he was doing from a business standpoint. Obviously, it hurt my family and I from a financial standpoint, which is a bummer. But I forgave him. I'm like, look, and I shook hands. I'm like, and I talked to him years afterwards. I said, you probably learned a lot from your side doing the whole suing and not, and he's like, yeah, sorry, that's water under the bridge. And so, we ended on good terms. And again, it was one of those kind of God just steered me in this path that, came to where I am today.
Yeah.
And that was...
What excuse would he have for not paying you the commission you'd earned, though?
He wanted to keep it for himself, and he was hiring somebody else to kind of help him.
Well, I know he wanted to, but, like, you had an agreement. He doesn't honor it. That's pretty cut and dry to me.
Yeah, it is. And again...
Apparently it was to the courts as well.
It was so easy. It was more... He was going after me on the fact that I was taking away his livelihood. But I was like, look, I was their manager. I was the 24/7 guy. I was at the races. I have the relationships, and I didn't call and put a gun up to their head and said, sign with me because I'm going to another agency. I said, look, you got to take care of things on your own, pay the commissions that you owe, and if you want to come, you can, But he took that as, I'm going after you. Mm. Nowadays, there's laws written in that, you're not allowed to kind of keep somebody away from doing a job that they're doing. Although on the other side, if I left today, all the revenue that goes to Wasserman is theirs, right? That's how that's how deals are put together. Hmm. But
are you still enjoying that?
I love the fact of growing something and building something. I've been blessed to have amazing athletes. I just did this yesterday. I counted that I had worked with 49 of the top racers in the world.
That's pretty cool.
It's really, really, and that's in different sports, right? Not all Supercross, motocross. The majority were, but I'm like, how did that happen? I'm just some motocross kid that raced a dirt bike and went to Europe, and I really had the passion and love to want to stay in the sport, and here we are, going on 30 years later, and I'm still involved in the sport, and I love doing what I do. Yeah. Right? I do travel a little bit less and get to stay home, but
do you think if you were still doing moto, you'd be kind of burned on it?
Yeah.
Do you think it's a good change? Yeah.
Putting in the effort, getting kind of a next tier level championship from a personal standpoint was the 2004 championship working with Chad. I was the guy that signed him when he was in Europe. He was racing 250. He was like, hey, Bob, I want to come, but I want to go straight to the 250 class, and because I can do that. I'm like, no, dude. I'm like, I just trust me on this. You got to race the 250 class, the 125 class at the time, whatever. I said, do that. I said, the following year we can get you. And he's like, no, I don't want to do that. I'm like, well, I'm not going to manage you then if you don't want to do this, because I know what I'm talking about on this. So I was, again, fortunate enough to bring him here. I knew he had talent. Watched him on the Supercross track, and I'm like, long story short, 6 races into his title championship, he won the first 6 races, and I had him over already $2 million from Yamaha the next year to go to the 250 class. So I said, look, Chad, if you would have done your way, you'd have come over and made $200,000 or $300,000 and been stuck in a 2-year contract. And you went my way, you made like $700,000 winning the championship in the lights class, and now you're making $3+ million the following year. I said, that was the right way.
Yeah.
but whatever, that it was kind of just, again, building, getting to because you're such involved with everyday training and preparation. I got him his trainer with Jeff Spencer, put everything together, and to win a championship, and it was super cool, right? It's like you win a championship, you feel a part of that team.
You genuinely are a part of that team. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. It's outside of winning it yourself. That's probably
It is. It's what drives me today. Like that's being involved with a winning rider and someone that's succeeding on track it's why I do it. I love it.
Well, it's you're a perfect guy for it. Your temperament, you're very, like you said, you're very calm. You don't want an agent that spools you up, right? But you also know when you're getting swindled, and you're not going to just sit down and take that. You know what I mean? You're the perfect guy for it. So I'll just say that. So congrats on your work there. You also sit on the board of Road Recovery, and I think I knew that, but maybe I had forgotten that you were, or maybe I thought you moved on because you were very quiet there.
Yeah. So what happened was a good friend of mine, Bob Walker, at the time. So when I was leaving OMS with Fred and going to the family, Bob Walker had another agency. It was him and Jimmy Button.
Yeah.
That he wanted to help me be a part of. And I ended up, so I was friends with him, but I'm like, okay, he lived over here in Arizona. And I'm like, anyways, we have, then I'm fully immersed in the championship. I was really on the side of me. I wanted to try to give back, right? I wanted to get a medical, I wanted to get a mobile medical unit going in play. I wanted to get concussion guidelines. I was a part of the concussion guideline policies back in those things. So I was always about, like, I know what these guys have to deal with and just try to make it easier and better for them. And then we would have these unfortunate riders getting injured, right? And then I would help getting to do like golf charity events and whatever and raise the money and give it to the family. And then I was talking with Bob Walker, and we were thinking, it's like, you know what, doing these, we're kind of just doing this proactively, where a rider would get injured reactively, yeah. Getting these riders would get injured, and then we'd go out and try to raise a bunch of money, give them to them, but then it would be back to zero, right? Yeah. I said, let's start an organization. And I'm like, I don't know anything about starting a 501c3. He's like, well, I did just a few years ago with this football one. I know the perfect person. I said, great, let's do it. And I said, I'm on, I'll be the chairman, you be the president, we'll start this thing off. So then we have the unfortunate incident in San Diego when our good friend, Jimmy Button gets injured. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, we got to rally. Let's do this thing. Let's get money. So again, it was raising money, getting everyone involved, and we raised a bunch of money that helped him.
Yeah. And so you guys had already had that ball rolling, that idea, that concept going before Jimmy got hurt?
It was right. Basically, it was the same time. It was the whole Jimmy getting injured was the catalyst to, like, we have to have a 501c3, a proper road to recovery in place. That the next guy that gets injured, we would already, it was for AMA professional career-ending injuries, right? It wasn't like a broken leg and you're back racing in 6 months. It was literally that this is the type of thing that these riders need help with. And so it was just on my heart to to get this thing up and running. And Bob was busting his tail, and we formed this organization. We were to channel all the money into the account and then pay off a lot of Jimmy's debt that he was having. And so that's how it was generated. But 2001 and 2 and so forth, we were kept doing the same thing. Like, we'd have a rider get injured. We do a big push. We do a big golf charity event in Vegas every year, raise $70,000 to $100,000 every year. It'd go into an account and usually just channeled and go straight over to the rider that was injured that year. And then we're like, look, I'm willing to take this thing to the next level. We need to hire somebody full time. And at the time, Jimmy Button's mom was getting ready to kind of retire from her company, but wanted to, and she was still really active with us, obviously with the foundation, helping with her son, with Jimmy. And so I'm like, I want to hire. And that time, basically, then Jimmy, because it was through his injury, you know, he was more involved with helping us out too. So then Jimmy kind of came over with Bob and I, and it was like, it was us three. You know, we were out there promoting. Jimmy, unfortunately, dealt with the thing firsthand, so he was a perfect spokesperson. And we kind of just built, and I'm like, all right, I got to pull the trigger. We need $50,000 a year at least to get a full-time person, and I think your mom's a perfect fit. But I said, in order to do that, we have to raise monies, you know. We have to raise additional monies to do that. Mm-hmm. So we did, and then my conversation came up to where I was fortunate enough to speak with to Eddie Cole. And at the time, from a business perspective, I really admired what Eddie has done, and a person and everything else. He's like, Bob, you know what you're doing is great, but he's like, you're just putting yourself in a hole every year. I'm like, you know what, you're right. I'm like, what can I do? He's like, you need to build an endowment. He's like, go to your main donors, go to the manufacturers, go to whoever, and put together a 3 or 5 year plan to where they give you X amount of money every year. You put that into an endowment, and then you save up on that, and then you can spin off money as there's injuries, but it's still building itself up, right, with donations and other stuff. So, but it's a pool of money that sits up here. I said, great idea.
Yeah.
I said, so the first thing I did, started picking up the phone, going to all the manufacturers. Keith McCarty was all in. And then the other thing that he said, he's like, go get other people to be a part of the board. So I said, that's a great idea, because then they feel more comfortable about writing a check, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So I went and called the head of every manufacturer. You know, Keith McCarty was one of the first guys on. Todd Gendro, because he was the head of Feld, so he was on. Like, add everyone, DeCoster, everyone that was involved. I'm like, I want you to be a part of this. I don't want you to think this is some shady bike deal that, you know, monies are going sideways or whatever. I want you to see it. And it was, ran it that way. We built up almost $1 million in the endowment. The thing was cranking pretty good. It just got to a point where I stayed there, I think it was over 20 years. And I was kind of more from a you know, godly type of path that I was involved with the FCA, with the fellowship.
Are you?
Yeah, fellowship.
Okay.
I'm on the board with Fellowship of Christian Athletes.
Okay.
So
I just joined the board out in Southern California.
Good. Awesome. So it was one of those things where I went to one of the first motocross camps for them back, you know, took my boys back, and this is back in the early 2000s.
Okay.
And then got a lot of riders to come do their camps and stuff like that. So I've always been a part of it. And then I got invited to be full-time board member. A few years, this goes probably 5-6 years ago now. And I'm like, you know what? Yeah, this thing from Road to Recovery is kind of it's not going in the it was just a path that I was kind of just not drifting out of, but I was kind of just growing out of, going in another direction for Fellowship Christian Athletes. And so I'm like, I want to step down. And they said, oh, well, we want you to still be involved. I'm like, no, I really need to just step away from this. You guys have built a great organization that still is going, you know, everyone knows what Road to Recovery is. I was just one person of hundreds that made it is what it is today. I'm not taking any credit. It was just one of those things where it was passionate for Bob Walker and I when Jimmy got hurt, and we built this thing, and it's a great organization. But it just got to a point where I was like, look, I want to really follow this other stuff. I'm not going to be a really good board member for you. And it was to a point where everything always had to be unanimous, right? And that's the way it always was. And it was getting to a point where there's people who were like, I don't know about spending money there and there. And I'm like, I don't want to do this. I can't. I'm like, I want to just go this other way.
Time to walk away.
Yeah. So that was,
Well, they still do good things. We
Great
do a lot
things.
of fundraisers for them throughout the year. We put on the Whiskey Throttle Ryder Cup, which is we're trying to grow back to what what you guys had in Vegas. That thing was crazy back then.
Yeah.
I don't know if we'll ever get there. It was pretty crazy, but we're trying. It's still a great organization. They do awesome work.
Yep.
Tell me a little bit about your family. What do you guys do? You got 2 boys right now, you said?
2 boys, yeah.
What are they up to?
28 and 26. They both live in
really?
Southern California now. One is going to be a realtor, and the other's sound design. So he's making music for anything from video to video games to commercials on air, whatever, like just anything sound.
Wow.
He does that.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Cool. Good for them. Married?
The oldest, I'm thinking that it might be coming quick or soon. Youngest, no,
okay,
not yet.
Right.
I don't think.
Is that mine are 17 and 18, so about to kind of blast off. How is that having them be out on their own? And
so it this goes back now 8 years. They both left the house there. We were living in Carlsbad, and they left the house. They were leaving, going to college and doing their own thing. And I'm like, I told my wife, I'm like, we probably need to move and let's go back to California, or let's go back to Arizona. It's kind of where our roots are. That's where both her mom and dad are, and my mom and dad both live here in the Phoenix area. So let's go back and be with them while they're still active, and we can, help take care of them when they get, when they're getting older.
Yeah.
And that was really the number one goal, is why we wanted to move. And 2 was, let's save some money by moving out of the state of California, because it was an instant 35% savings. You can just live a lot better over here, have a nicer place, and it was just, so it was easy. It was easy. So we and fortunate for me, again, with Wasserman, been in charge of the division for so many years, it's like, hey, hats off, thanks, you're still making money, and you can do your deal anywhere, so go ahead and move to Arizona and just go to the races from Europe, to Europe whenever you want.
Yeah.
So it was pretty much, everything was rolled out, and I made a new deal and came over here.
Is it hard being without the boys day to day? Or
it is, but now they're, it was probably a lot more 7-8 years ago.
Yeah.
My youngest son moved with us over here the first, almost year.
Okay.
But then the Arizona summer came, and he was like, I'm out. I got to go back to where, because again, we spent 15 years in San Diego. So, I mean, that's the best weather ever.
You're not going to beat it. Yeah, that's for sure. What do you guys do for fun, you and your wife, if you're not?
Go to the movies. We travel a little bit. We're going to go to the mountains this weekend to go to Flagstaff. We golf. I love
she golfs with you?
She does, not very much. She loves the 9-hole golf program. I'm fortunate enough to live on a place where I play. I'm a member at a club. And so I play a lot of golf. And I ride my dirt bike when it rains here. I go out with my buddies, with the guys from FCA, and there's usually a group of us that do these Bible studies on bikes. So we'll go out and do some scripture and stop and ride. Stop up on this hill and do a little devotional, and
that's cool.
Hang out and ride, and we'll keep going. And 2 or 3 hours, we load it back up and drive home. But that's just in the winter months when it's cooler, right?
Oh, so, you don't touch a dirt bike out here in the summer.
No, it's too hard. Yeah, for sure.
Well, what an amazing career, man. I thank you for taking the time. I know these take a while to get through, so I really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Our last question is, how do you want to be remembered in the sport?
I think one of the coolest parts that I've had throughout my career was getting inducted into the Motorcycle Hall of Fame. And the cool thing with that was not that I accomplished a lot on the bike, because really I won one world championship. I won a Supercross title, 125, a few times second place, but I'm nowhere near the list of those guys in that Hall of Fame. But I think, and Davey Coombs was the one that pointed this out to me. He's like, Bobby, it wasn't that you did all of that while racing and your accomplishments at racing. It was what you did afterwards, the starting of the road recovery, all the other stuff that you had a heart for, that's kind of what people saw.
Yeah.
I think that's just it. I mean, if I, God takes me tomorrow, I'm happy to just be that guy that's I always want what's best for my riders and my guys, and I look at it as something as, this is a gift at doing. I've had the fortune enough of managing 49 of the best athletes in the world, and I still get these riders that pop up and say they want me to manage them. I mean, like it's not that I go knocking on doors and asking. It's just, so I'm still working with Wasserman, and I'm so happy to be able to do that. Hopefully I can do this for many more years. I'm sure they're happy as long as I'm making them more money than they're paying me. They're always going to be happy with that scenario. So again, for what I'm looking forward is just that, right? Yeah. It's just being a guy that just loved the sport, was able to do something afterwards, after the sport, and still be involved, because it's one of the biggest things that I deal with riders that are getting ready to retire is like, what do we do? What is that next stage? Yeah. Dealing with that with Nathan, with Chad, with all these guys, you try to put things in play the best you can.
Yeah. Well, it's hard because nothing can replace that feeling, that, especially when you've competed at a professional level. Yeah. It's very hard to replace.
You can't replace it on the emotional side, right? No. You the fans running over to you, asking for your autographs and stuff like that. You can't replace that. And I think, unfortunately, a lot of riders that I see retire, they still can go fast, right? And they'll maybe take a year off, and then they'll say, you're not going to come back. And I'm like, every time that happens, I'm like, no, don't come back, because I know what it's like. I don't think there'll ever be a rider to retire and come back and be successful, because you can't. It's too hard to do this sport. It just is.
Yeah. Well, as a guy who's watched you, like I said, you were kind of this mythical creature when I was a kid, and to watch what you did in Europe, and then cross paths with you as my team manager, and then everything you've done after. I love that you have a passion for it, a true passion for the sport, and I love that you're not. Is there some guys that are they kind of want attention still? They want to be in the limelight still. That isn't you. You are very under the radar.
Give me the guy. I went out of it.
You're very under the radar, and I
don't want that. And I don't. I mean, again, it was not that I'm trying to avoid this interview. I mean, I treat you as a friend, and because I've really admired your career as well, and I've watched a lot of these podcasts, and it's the reason why I'm here as well. I don't want to be that guy. I'm no one. I'm just some guy that's been fortunate enough to ride a dirt bike and be at the right place at the right time. And God gave me these gifts and these people to work with. And, I just try to do the best I can, right? I'm not perfect. I'm just some average dude that, I don't want to be that guy. I really, really, I don't like when people come up and say, there's Bob, from Bray. I'm like, I cringe. I don't like that.
Well, you're overly humble, probably. Your career was incredible, and I'm glad we got to share it, because I think there's a lot of people that you have flown so under the radar because you're very quiet about things that may not know your story, and it's awesome.
No,
so thank you.
I
appreciate the time.
Yeah,
and
it's awesome.
Glad to call you a friend.
Yep.
So
thank you.
Next time it rains, I'm going to come.
Yeah,
let's go cut a track in the desert.
Absolutely.
Again. All right. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Stick around. We'll be back to wrap up the show. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. Huge thank you to Bob Moore for taking the time to come here to the Barrel Room today and sit down with us. Man, what an incredible story. It's hard to imagine going to Europe by yourself like that as a kid and just slugging it out for a decade. But he is our last American world champion, so a lot to be proud of, and our first Supercross champion. He kind of bookended it, didn't he? Thank you guys for watching and supporting our show. As always, huge thank you to all our sponsors, obviously Yamaha, but motorsport.com as well, Troy Lee Designs, Dunlop, Pro Circuit, Pro X, Rockwell, Nihilo, TBD, Ethica, Specialized, Seat Concepts, just really appreciate those guys in Element as well. Huge fan of this stuff. If you have not tried it, give it a try. We've got free samples on our Instagram page. You can find our favorites and hit the sponsor tab there. It's got a code that'll get you some samples for free. Thank you guys for watching, and we got more shows coming soon. Another several here from Arizona, so stick around for those. See you next time.
Yamaha is the industry leader in two-wheeled fun and performance. Celebrating 50 years of YZ in 2024, the Blue Crew is still dominating shootouts and competitions. Yamaha, revs your heart. Troy Lee Designs is the leader in off-road motocross apparel and style. So whether you're looking for a cool new paint job for your helmet, maybe your name and number on your helmet lettered on, you're looking for new gear, you're looking for mountain bike gear, off-road gear. They've got the brand new Scout line and GP and SE models. Troy Lee Designs has it all. They've been leading this industry for decades, and they're going to continue to do it. Check out TroyLeeDesigns.com. Throttle Show, we're all about supporting brands that support our sport. And there's one tire company that has never walked away from the sport of motocross and supercross, and it's Dunlop. When times got tough and the economy took a crash, Dunlop stepped up and stayed with our sport to support it and the athletes and individuals that love it. Their MX53 line and MX33 lines absolutely dominate this sport. Every national championship at the pro level has been won in the last decade, and nearly every single amateur national championship at Loretta Lynn's has been won on a Dunlop. So if you're looking for high performance, you're looking for amazing quality, and you're looking to support a brand that never turns its back on our sport, there's only one choice for you, and it's Dunlop. All right, Whiskey Throttle fam, we've got a sponsor here that I want to really encourage you guys to try, Element. If you haven't seen this stuff before, give them a check out on our Instagram bio. You can get in there. We've got a link that will give you free samples. You can go in and try this stuff. And this delivers just the right amount of electrolytes that you need when you're competing at all, especially if it's midsummer, humid, think Loretta Lynn's, Nationals. You're sweating like crazy. This is the best way to replenish it, okay? Straight water is just going to flush more electrolytes out of your body, cause more cramping. You've got to get the electrolytes back in. This Element provides it in the perfect package with 0 sugar. It is vegan, keto, paleo-friendly, gluten-free. This is the perfect product for athletes or those pretending to be athletes. So it was designed by Rob Wolf. This guy is a crazy smart dude working in the science field. Was developing for his own use in athletics, and he came up with the perfect formula. This stuff's awesome. This right here, the citrus salt, is my favorite. Of course, you can get it in a sample pack like this where you can try some different flavors, watermelon, orange, raspberry. Great stuff. Cannot recommend this enough. If you are racing, even at a local level, and sweating at all, which, come on, we all do on a dirt bike, you've got to have some of this stuff to replenish it right. Give it a try. Like I said, go to our bio on Instagram. You can find a discount code or a link that takes you directly to there, and we'll give you a free sample. Check it out. You're not going to want to miss that. Support these guys. They are fans of the sport, and we are so stoked to be partnered with them. Element is an incredible product that I use exclusively, and I'm so proud to have them part of the Whiskey Throttle Show. Pro Circuit is the leader in aftermarket performance and quality. Whether you're looking for a little more horsepower out of your engine, some quality hard parts to improve the way your bike feels and looks, better handling through suspension or linkage arms, Pro Circuit is where you need to stop. It's your one-stop shop. You can go in there and get everything you need to make your motorcycle go from average to exceptional. Pro Circuit's got enough number 1 plates on their wall to side an entire home, and there's a reason for that. They're very, very good at what they do. The highest quality products with one goal in mind, and that's winning. Check out ProCircuit.com. If you are in the market for a new vehicle, look no further than Toyota of Redlands. You've got to support a brand that is supporting motocross big time. At the amateur level, pro level, they are part owners in the Bar X Yamaha racing team. They support a ton of riders individually, and they support us here at Whiskey Throttle Media. And I'll tell you what, the facility up there in Redlands is absolutely incredible. It's beautiful. The folks are friendly. They're professional. And if you've never owned a Toyota, you got to give it a try. It is the only brand that I'll drive anymore. If you're buying, there's nothing more reliable, nothing that holds its resale value better. And the folks at Toyota of Redlands are just they still remember what customer service is. I guess that's all I really need to say. Incredibly friendly, professional, and just talented staff up there. We're stoked to have them a part of the show. If you see the Whiskey Throttle truck around here, the Toyota Redlands Tundra, give us a wave and a honk. But, man, just so stoked to have these guys on board. Like I said, anybody like that that's getting involved and supporting the sport, we just want to push as many people as we can to them, because those folks are rare, and especially when they have an incredible product and provide an incredible service. So get up to Toyota Redlands, California. If you're anywhere in southern United States, southwest United States, it's worth the drive. Get over there, check those guys out. Tell them the Whiskey Throttle Crew sent you. On-switch device, something that was much needed in this sport. They've been innovating and bringing new products to market. Their latest is the new Nihilo Run Cool brake pistons. They're designed to be stronger than stock and provide exceptional cooling performance with less brake drag. Most OEM calipers pistons are made from aluminum that just can't hold up to the heat and extreme demands of serious racing. When they get hot, the aluminum will distort, causing loss of hydraulic pressure and brake failure. Nihilo's Run Cool pistons limit the area that boiling hot hydraulic fluid is able to come in contact with the piston, leaving 2/3 of the piston volume in open air with breather holes to enhance the cooling ability. It's made of a proprietary stainless blend, which is better at dissipating heat. You have issues with brake fade or brake failure, check out Nihilo Concepts among their many amazing hard parts and carbon fiber parts and titanium. NihiloConcepts.com. Seat Concepts is the leader in motorcycle saddles. If you're looking for a new cover or a new seat entirely, Seat Concepts is the place to go. They make custom seat foams catered to your height, weight, riding ability, riding type. They also have waterproof covers and foams that will not break down if you ride in a lot of inclement weather. And they pride themselves on being much more comfortable than OEM or any other aftermarket company. If you're looking for a new seat or a new cover, Seat Concepts, there's nothing better. Guys, I want to introduce you to Rockform, and a sponsor of the Whiskey Throttle Show here that has just been blowing my mind with their products. They've got all kinds of, started as phone cases. This is their rugged phone case here that I've got, which is just bulletproof. You could throw this thing out of an airplane, probably pick it up and be just fine. And on the back here, everything is magnetic, so it'll just stick to anything metallic, obviously. But this little locking device you've got in the back, this bolts onto handlebar mounts, car mounts, adhesive mounts, magnetic mounts, and it does not come off. It is locked in. I have no fear that my phone is going to pop off a handlebar on a street bike ride. And then I like the little sport ring they've got. They've got all kinds of devices that pop in here, but this thing acts as a stand. If you want to sit this thing up and watch something on your phone or work on it, just absolutely incredible. And this is magnetic as well. All kinds of amazing products, guys, for your phone. Kind of that's their primary function. They also have the G-Rock speaker. This is basically made for golf, and you just stick it to the frame of your golf cart and get after it. Got great tunes all day long. So a ton of products, but check out our boys at Rockform. These guys are killing it. I'm so stoked to be partnered with this brand. You know, we really pride ourselves on partnering with elite brands, really, really high-level companies, and Rockform is right on cue. Need to replace something on your bike that's worn out? Look no further than Pro-X. These guys aim to make everything OEM quality or better at an affordable price. And they've also got some new products coming. So right now, chains, sprockets, anything inside the engine internally, air filters. If it wears out, Pro-X makes it, and they make it at a quality level that's OEM or better. And they've got some new things coming that are awesome. A complete engine rebuild kits for the Polaris RZR 800s. Need to replace something on your bike that's worn out? Look no further than Pro-X. These guys aim to make everything OEM quality or better at an affordable price. And they've also got some new products coming. So right now, chains, sprockets, anything inside the engine internally, air filters. If it wears out, Pro-X makes it, and they make it at a quality level that's OEM or better. And they've got some new things coming that are awesome. A complete engine rebuild kits for the... All right, so you had a tip over in the garage or at the track and you broke your lever off. What are you going to do? Go to Arc Levers, guys. They're the only people you need to check out in this space. Arc Levers, everything manufactured right here in the United States to craftsman precision. The stuff is awesome. Whether you're looking for an entire clutch perch with maybe a bigger wheel, they make the wheel super easy to find and adjust. Or maybe you just want replacement levers. They do that as well. Anything you're after, they can change the throw, the feel, everything you want. custom. They can make them feel different, look different colors. These guys are dialed, man. They've got all kinds of cool products. If you haven't been over to Arc Levers and seen what they've got, check them out. These guys are being run by factory Honda. If they're good enough for Jet Lawrence, I think you and I can probably make them work. The Star Racing Yamaha team, a lot of factory riders running them for good reason. They're the best products in the business. Check out Arc Levers. The Whiskey Throttle Show is presented by Motosport.com. It doesn't matter if you like to pull a throttle cable on a dirt bike, street bike, side-by-side. Motosport.com is putting riders first with parts, gear, and accessories, including some of our partners like Troy Lee Designs, Dunlop, Pro Circuit, and more. They offer first returns free on apparel so you can buy with confidence. And Motosport.com offers fast, free shipping on all orders over $79. Make your next ride your best ride. Visit Motosport.com. If you're considering a facelift for your dirt bike, look no further than TBD MX. TBD MX offers fully customizable graphics. Whatever you want to put on there, it's up to you. You're the boss. You want a military theme? No problem. Give them an idea of what you're after and they'll make it. You want to put unicorns on there? Well, that's super weird, but he'll do it for you anyway. They use the highest quality materials cut to the exact die lines for easy installation, which, if you've ever put graphics on, you know is important. No bubbles, no creases. They fit perfectly. And they offer fast service and shipping, so you're not waiting around forever to get your bike dialed in. So stop looking like a dork at the track. Go to tbdmx.com and get yourself dialed in with a set of graphics that you want, with your sponsors and the things you want to see on it. TBDMX making the best graphics in motocross, and the Whiskey Throttle Media Crew and the Whiskey Throttle Show is stoked to be partnered with TBDMX. Follow them on Instagram, give them a follow, and follow along with all of our bike builds as we feature the TBDMX graphics on all our builds. Every good podcast show has got to have an underwear sponsor, right? Well, we went right to the top, Ethica. These guys make the best underwear. If you haven't tried a pair, you don't know what you're missing. Your life hasn't even started yet. So try a pair of Ethicas on. Go to Ethica.com. Use our code WHISKEY20. Get you 20% off. And give all of your nether regions a break, man. It's vacation time for the boys. These things are comfortable. You're riding. Your butt's not going to get all chafed. These things are awesome. And guess what? They don't just make underwear. No. Tees, hats, beanies, sweatshirts, shorts for kids, ladies, toddlers, old people, everybody. You name it. They make them. You know what else they make? Moto gloves. I didn't even know that. I just found it out. So get over to Ethica.com. Check them out. These guys are awesome. Whiskey20. Use our code. Don't cheat me now. Get 20% off and put your buns in the best undies around. Ethica.com. All right, the sun is shining. That means you guys need to find yourself a good pair of sunglasses and look no further than Rockwell. These guys are making some incredible shades right now. They're all designed here in the USA, made in Italy. Very, very high-end craftsmanship on these things. They've got so many different models for men's and women's styles. There's floatable glasses, so if you're out on a lake, on a boat somewhere this summer, go out, find yourself a pair of the floatable ones. They've also got wireframe. They've got wraparound. Anything you're after, any style, Rockwell makes it. We are also working on a motocross goggle that is going to be insane. We are in the development stages of that. I'm helping them with that, as is Justin Hill and a couple other guys. So stay tuned for that. That's coming. They also make all kinds of casual wear. Rockwell is getting it done in all kinds of markets. But the sunglasses, whoo, these things are next level. Check them out, rockwell.com.
The inspiration for Element, interestingly, was from working with my coaches. I sat down with those guys. I'm like, hey, here's what I'm doing. What should I do? And they looked at everything and they were like, you need more electrolytes, specifically sodium. And like most people do when they have a coach, I ignored what their advice was. I'm kind of like, well, I salt my food, I'm probably good. And it took me at least a year to finally listen to these guys and do what they asked me to do. And it was just a switch flip. It was just so obvious that this was the critical missing piece to the story. And it's ironic that this salt piece was like the linchpin, the keystone to making all the rest of that work.
Last but not least, Specialized Bicycles. If you are in the market to start pedaling, this is where you want to start. They've got great entry-level bikes all the way up to the Cadillac, the new Levo e-bike, anything in between, man. It doesn't matter what kind of riding you're doing. go check out and start with Specialized. Don't waste your time on something that's going to break. The derailler's not going to shift after a couple months. Get something quality. These guys make it. Specialized leads that industry. Thanks for checking out the Whiskey Throttle Show. If you guys liked it, be sure to like and subscribe so you get notified anytime we have a new show go up. You can also go over to WhiskeyThrottleMedia.com and check out all of the content, new bike builds, new bike introductions. We've got all kinds of features in the moto and off-road space, as well as all of the current Whiskey Throttle shows listed there. You can find our YouTube channel to get a complete list by season of all the shows we've done, well over 100 at this point. And also follow us on Instagram, follow us on TikTok, like, subscribe, comment, all that junk. We'll see you guys.